As darkness swallowed the world, a massive sigil burned across the land, coiling with terrifying waves of power. And so it began the war between humanity's champion and a mysterious creature from another world. An icy chill filled the air as the two clashed, locked in a brutal struggle, while smoke and fire obscured the battlefield. This hero's physical power was over 100 times a normal human's. He was absolutely dominating the beast with just one hand, but it was no use. The monster seemed to have endless stamina. All that power was only enough for a one-on-one fight? When muscle wasn't enough, it was time for Plan B. He whipped out a blade. Let's see who's really afraid now. The challenge was on. A cold wind swept through the grim scene as the entire sky turned a deep, blood red. There, impaled on a massive pillar, was the hero himself, pinned in place by his own weapon. His body was completely broken. The man let out a single cough, and a trickle of red blood seeped from his mouth. With no way left to fight back, he simply raised the corner of his mouth into a defiant smile. He'd accepted his fate, and was practically daring his opponent to just get on with it already. Hearing this, the grotesque creature with one head and 6 arms obliged, each hand clutching a different weapon. The creature didn't hesitate. Its entire body lunged forward, bringing a blackened foot crashing down to finish him off. But just as the finishing blow was about to land, his eyes snapped open, wide and deadly serious. A blue light flared to life in his pupils, followed by a massive explosion that rocked the entire area. The ground shook violently as white smoke billowed everywhere. And the cause of this war? The very definition of a power user. In the eyes of the world, S-rank ability users were the ones who carried all of humanity's hopes. But every single one of those heroes was declared dead, leaving humanity with endless, suffocating despair. The book is now complete. Thank you, readers, for your support and for sticking with it until the very end. Reading this was the best decision you've ever made. Not a single second of your time was wasted. After reading the novel's final words, our main character flopped onto his bed, an arm over his forehead in thought. He let out a long sigh. Another unfinished novel. He was so incredibly sick and tired of this. He lifted his phone again, swiping around until he landed on the fan ranking page for the series. But one small detail, the top 5 spots were completely empty. He scrolled through the reviews again, feeling even more disappointed. That author should be thanking him, he thought. He was literally his one and only reader. Forever. You could search the entire world and not find a single other soul who read that thing to the very end like he did. Well, the story was officially done. He had zero reason to just lie in bed staring at a screen anymore. So, he shot up, casually tossed his phone back onto the mattress, and headed straight for the bathroom. He casually went about his business, humming a happy tune and enjoying that sweet feeling of post-pee satisfaction. But here's the thing he never could have expected. While he was busy, doing his thing, his phone screen suddenly lit up. Over his humming, a notification alert echoed through the apartment. The message read, "World fusion initiated." A day passed. It was now the next morning. Dressed in a surprisingly sharp outfit, he scanned his surroundings, watching people bustle off to school and work. Taking in the scene, he couldn't help but run a hand through his own spiky, hedgehog-like hair. He muttered about not being able to afford a new house, figuring some corporate chairman was causing trouble again. What a pain. The poor just have to put up with it. But as he was busy judging the world, something suddenly caught his eye. His attention was immediately locked onto it, leaving him completely stunned by what was happening right before his eyes. He whipped his head around. That massive building that was standing right here a second ago. Where did it go? Was he losing his mind? Did he just imagine a whole building was there? No, there was no way he was that mistaken. This was the exact spot. He was sure of it. No mistake. Even if that meant he was going completely insane. He quickly pushed through the crowd, moving forward in a daze. And then, a truly bizarre scene greeted him. It was a sight that would make anyone stop and stare. What in the world was going on? Since when was there a gigantic open field, with an equally massive number 1, right in the middle of the city? Before he could even say a word, the people around him erupted into a flurry of confused chatter. Someone started yelling, blaming some garbage real estate company. Useless at building, but they can demolish something faster than anyone on the planet. Others argued it was something else entirely. They insisted on reporting this completely unacceptable situation. They had worked so hard for their down payments, and they couldn't just lose everything. Absolutely not. Someone couldn't hold back their emotions and began to sob, their dreams of a new home completely shattered. Seeing these complaints, he browsed for a moment, then coldly turned and left without leaving a single comment. But his mind was already spinning an entire unfinished building, demolished in a single night? Have modern construction standards really gotten this bad? Something about this was incredibly suspicious. At school, In classroom 16, the door creaked open and a figure walked through. The moment Shang Ting stepped inside, a shadow lunged at him, ready for a surprise attack. He braced himself, expecting a pretty epic beatdown, but surprisingly, there was no fight. It was just Shang Ting's hyperactive friend, who had been antsy for a while. He just rushed forward for a hug. But right after the shoulder grab, his friend had some earth-shattering news for Shang Ting. The news he'd heard was that the apocalypse was coming. Seriously. To Shang Ting, it just sounded like complete and utter nonsense. He casually pushed his friend away with one finger. This guy must have been up all night playing games again, right? He knew this kid all too well, always spouting some baseless, crazy stuff. But despite his friend's obvious disbelief, the blonde-haired boy insisted he was telling the truth. Before you judge me, just look at these posts, you'll see. Immediately, the young man held out his phone to show Shang Ting the evidence to back up his claim. Online groups were absolutely buzzing about it. One person's boyfriend had bought a new house for them, only for it to mysteriously disappear overnight. Then there was the Thao Dan group being pressured to give refunds. Others were just shocked that a large building could be destroyed in one night. It was truly extraordinary. He let his friend read through all the comments, looking incredibly satisfied with himself. See? Everything he had said was 100% accurate. All across the country, in a single night, similar things were happening, buildings were just suddenly vanishing. Did Shang Ting really think it was just a coincidence? In response, Shang Ting just scratched his head. If it's not a coincidence, what could it be? But then, a sinister look appeared on his friend's face. Didn't Shang Ting think this whole situation felt exactly like the signs before a monster attack in a novel? The resemblance was almost freakishly identical. Hearing this, Shang Ting froze, a sudden realization hitting him hard. A monster attack? Could it be? Seeing his fellow novel addict still looking lost and in disbelief was baffling. The other student just looked completely fed up. The end of the world was here. Did Shang Ting really still want to think about reading novels? Ignoring his friend, he immediately grabbed his phone. He went straight to the novel he had been reading yesterday, only to find a notification that the work had been removed. This was just getting too strange. The beginning of that novel was all about a series of bizarre events happening in major cities. Things like a large number of high-rise buildings mysteriously disappearing. And what's more, the novel also mentioned the main character. As Shang Ting recalled the plot he had read, a cold sweat started to run down his back. After the main character arrived at his school, his classmate came right up to him and said the end of the world was coming. All of this couldn't be explained away as a simple coincidence. After having his mind blown, the student's head was spinning. It felt like 1,000 questions were echoing inside his brain. Could this really be happening in the real world? Has the novel somehow become reality? Without another thought, Shang Ting bolted outside, a look of pure panic on his face. He left his best friend behind to make an excuse for him for skipping class. He watched his best friend sprint out the door. The student's face was a mess of tears and snot, his hands clasped together as if in prayer. Shang Ting, he actually ditched class? This kid really had some serious potential after all. He wasn't just his best friend. He was his brother, and he was finally growing up. He told him to go on ahead. As the best friend in the entire solar system, he would definitely come up with the most bulletproof excuse for Shang Ting. Don't worry about a thing. And so, while his best friend prayed for his successful escape, Shang Ting was running as if a ghost was chasing him, his legs pumping like a battleship's engines, recalling the novel's details. The vanished buildings were being kept at a certain base. Those bases were actually teleportation gates for invading alien monsters. If the novel was actually coming true, then that base had to be at teleportation point number 1. And so, following the location he now knew, Shang Ting raced off to confirm his terrifying thoughts. And it was exactly as he thought. When Shang Ting arrived, laid out before his eyes was a massive, empty plot of land. A giant number 1 glowed on the ground. This was it, the teleportation circle, no doubt about it. Just then, an old, bald man walked over to Shang Ting. "Hey kid," he said. "Did you get scammed by some shady real estate company too? If so, don't worry too much. You're still young, you can always start over." But Shang Ting was panting for an entirely different reason as he stared straight ahead. He knew what this was, based on a novel he'd read that described this exact scene, the Abyss teleportation circle. Even in the book, no one could explain where these things came from, or how they got here. In the very first wave, 999 of these Abyss zones would appear all at once, scattered across the entire country, and every single one of them would be labeled number 1. Tonight, at the stroke of midnight, a species of creature called Abyssals would emerge from within. They were described as grotesque beings, covered entirely in sharp scales, with jutting teeth and short tongues, and right behind them, a whole swarm of other strange monsters would follow, from smaller ones like beetle bats and mushroom octopuses to massive mutated beasts that had never even been named before. The forms of the abyssals were truly bizarre, and as the level of the abyss increased, so did the terrifying power of the creatures that spawned from it. According to the book, level 1 to level 10, abyssals were monsters that humanity could actually handle with modern weaponry. But once they hit level 11, the abyssals underwent a world-shattering transformation. Both conventional firearms and bladed weapons became completely useless. Humans couldn't even scratch them. The only thing that could possibly harm these alien creatures were two very specific methods. The first was to kill an abyssal and receive a reward from a mysterious power, using those rewards to turn the tide of the war. These rewards included unique combat weapons and could even grant humans incredible supernatural abilities. Only by relying on these gifts could humanity even stand a chance against the tougher abyssals. It was the only way for the human race to survive the coming onslaught. And according to the plot of the novel, the abyssals that would appear from this first portal were only level 1. They were creatures shaped very much like large dogs. This type of monster relied on its powerful bite to attack its prey, but its movements were considered incredibly slow by normal standards, making them easy for humans to kill. And if that was true, Shang Ting had a shot at claiming the very first reward from that mysterious world. He remembered what the book said. The first person in the world to kill an abyssal would receive a special, one-of-a-kind reward. And if Shang Ting recalled correctly, this reward was powerful enough to completely reinforce his body. If he could enhance himself now, he'd have a massive advantage when the level 2 abyss showed up. In fact, while everyone else was forming teams just to fight level 2 abyssals, Shang Ting would be strong enough to single-handedly kill the creatures from a level 3 abyss. He had no idea what the hell was going on, but if this apocalypse was unavoidable, then his only option was to become as strong as humanly possible. And so, amid the confused crowd, one high school student, seemingly driven mad by a bad real estate deal, started moving with purpose. Seeing this, people couldn't help but whisper. Shang Ting quickly made his way to Dalang Hardware to pick up some supplies. The best weapon to deal with a level 1 abyssal was a long-reach weapon, like a spear. All he had to do was connect these steel pipes together and then tape a fruit knife to the end. As for these iron sheets, he could wrap them around his body for protection, creating a simple suit of armor. Just then, his strange actions were spotted by a female student. It looked like they were classmates. As she picked up her phone, a voice from the other end started shouting. It was her father. He had something urgent to tell her. Meanwhile, back in Shang Ting's room, he was laying out all the plaques supplies he'd just bought, getting to work assembling his gear. Just as he'd planned, he slipped on the sleeveless armor. It was crude, with open sides, but it would have to do. He inspected his handiwork. It was definitely uncomfortable to wear, but having something was a whole lot better than having nothing. Next, he just needed to finish his weapon. As he picked up the sharp knife, Shang Ting flinched for a second, but quickly steadied his breathing to calm himself down. Even though he knew what was coming, it seemed he was still a little on edge. He just had to hope everything went according to plan. And so, as the city's lights went out and everyone fell asleep, he alone stayed awake, waiting. It was now 11:40 p.m. Shang Ting stood there, fully equipped with the gear he had personally and meticulously prepared. At a glance, you'd think people thought Dane was just a geek obsessed with superheroes, but they had no idea this geek was about to save them all. He was armed with a makeshift spear and homemade iron armor, with a phone in hand to keep an eye on the time. Shang Ting waited with anticipation. The streets around him were now completely deserted. This was his chance to act, stepping closer to the number 1 marked on the ground. Shang Ting still had a full 20 minutes left. He had to get the first kill, and couldn't let anyone else steal it. When the phone hit 11:59, Shang Ting took a deep, steadying breath. Then, as the final seconds ticked down, he shifted into his battle stance, ready for action. Let's see what kind of strange creature could survive a hit from his homemade spear. Just as the countdown finished, a blazing red light erupted in front of Shang Ting, followed by splatters of crimson liquid. They're here. For real. Suddenly, a massive vortex of wind tore through the portal, launching a pillar of red light straight into the sky. In the dead silence, that initial display was followed by identical red pillars shooting up from all over the city. It was a terrifying sight. Despite preparing himself mentally, Shang Ting was completely frozen in shock. His eyes were wide open, staring straight ahead at the absolute chaos unfolding. The portal didn't keep the boy waiting long. From within, the shadow of a bizarre, nocturnal creature started to emerge. Its 2 eyes glowed menacingly from the darkness, and it had 2 horns on its head, like some kind of demonic bull. But sharp spines ran all the way down its back, and its claws looked way sharper than any normal animal's. That's right, the beast that appeared before Shang Ting was none other than an abyssal, just as he'd been warned. The sheer force radiating from it was enough to send a chill right down anyone's spine. A weaker person would have fainted on the spot. I mean, look at this thing, not a dog, not a bull, but pure, unadulterated killing intent. According to what he knew, this was a level 1 abyssal, the very type Shang Ting had been focused on from the start. They rely on fast, blitz-style attacks. The key was to dodge its pounce and then strike it right in the weak spot on its back. A direct hit would end it. But facing down even a normal rabid dog is enough to make most people's legs shake. So imagine standing in front of some unknown monster that's staring you down, drooling. Of course, Shang Ting was shaking with fear. But even so, a voice in his head kept telling him to stay calm. He absolutely had to keep his cool. He had to face this beast head-on. It was the only way he'd get the reward this time. He had to seize this chance. 1 hit, 1 kill. Not a single second could be wasted. The moment that thought crossed his mind, the beast charged. It lunged forward as if to crush him, its eyes glowing like a pair of high-beam headlights. It shot forward with its sharp teeth bared. But Shang Ting's eyes were sharp, instantly processing the monster's movements. This was it, his opportunity had arrived. As the level 1 abyssal attacked, Shang Ting sidestepped just as he'd planned. He let the creature pounce right past him, then gripped his spear tight. Gritting his teeth, he thrust downwards. Die, you disgusting, filthy beast. Before the abyssal could even react, the makeshift spear plunged straight through its body. Dark blood poured from the wound. With a direct hit to its weak spot, the level 1 abyssal let out a single grunt. Its whole body began to twitch uncontrollably before going completely limp. And Shang Ting? He was shaking just as badly, his breath coming in ragged gasps. But he did it. He actually did it. What a rush. But as Shang Ting watched the abyssal drop dead to the ground, something felt off. When an abyssal dies, it's supposed to drop an abyssal crystal, right? So where was the crystal? And more importantly, he hadn't gotten a system notification for his first kill, and there was still no abyssal crystal in sight. If that was the case, it could only mean one thing. A smirk crept onto Shang Ting's face. A wide smile spread across his lips as he suddenly slumped down onto the street. You're a clever one, aren't you? Too bad playing dead is useless. He decided to just calmly wait for it to actually die. The slower, the better, right? Hearing the boy's words, the abyssal, still trembling, was forced to get back up. It gnashed its teeth, furious at how smart its opponent was. You can just imagine the curses running through its head. Something like, "Damn you, kid, I can't even play dead to get away from you." And so, Shang Ting waited patiently. He waited, second by second, as the abyss creature bled out, until it finally let out one last howl and vanished. The moment the beast truly died, a small stone and an incredibly sharp blade dropped from its dissipating body. Instantly, a system notification popped up. Congratulations to Human Zero. Won on the first successful elimination of an abyss creature. Reward received. The title Solitary Soul. The moment he saw this, Shang Ting shot straight to his feet. A massive grin spread across his face. He actually got the first kill reward he was aiming for. As for that Solitary Soul title, Shang Ting wasn't about to let a reward like that go to waste. The moment he hit activate, a beam of light shot straight through his body, and a wolf's head emblem appeared. A fierce wind immediately erupted around him, and as the power flooded his system, Shang Ting felt a wave of painful, electrifying pleasure. A chaotic red and black aura burst forth, mixing with his screams as it completely enveloped his entire body. A terrifying wave of power exploded outwards, just as the blinding light finally began to fade away. Shang Ting's figure was revealed in mid-air, and the powerful winds slowly started to die down. Solitary Soul successfully activated. Effect 1. Enhances the user's body, granting 10 times the strength of a normal human, and 10 times the durability. Effect 2 enhances neural response, doubling the maximum reaction speed of the human body. With just this one notification, Shang Ting had already accomplished his primary goal, so this was it. He could feel power surging through his veins, a worthy reward for being the first to strike. Next up, it was time to see just how much stronger this new body of his really was. Without wasting a second, Shang Ting threw a punch forward, effortlessly blasting a crater into the ground without breaking a sweat. Staring at the insane result of his power, Shang Ting couldn't stop smiling. Was it really this devastating? Better yet, he didn't feel a single ounce of pain from the impact, which meant he had to try something bigger. He immediately spun around, gritting his teeth as he drew his arm way back to build up momentum. In a flash, a massive boom echoed out as a terrifying shockwave sent dirt and rocks flying in every direction. A thick cloud of dust obscured everything. But as it parted, it revealed the lone figure of Shang Ting, and a massive crater right in front of him. This power was just too insane. He was on a whole new level now, a level that nobody else could possibly hope to reach. Feeling this incredible strength, Shang Ting was beyond satisfied. Now for the next part. Shang Ting turned his attention to the other two rewards he'd just acquired. It was time to find out what kind of mysterious power this Abyss Stone would grant him. The anticipation was killing him. He picked up the Abyss Stone, tossed it into his mouth, and his eyes suddenly lit up with understanding. He recognized it immediately, a spatial ability. According to the system, this type of power could be used to store inanimate objects. Current ability level 1. At this point he just brought a hand up to rub his face, so he understood the Abyss Stone's effect. Then, it was just a simple spatial storage ability. He'd hoped for something flashier, a bit less than he imagined. Time to see if the weapon was any good. As he picked up the blade, a system notification appeared. This weapon was called the God Hunter Sword. Level 1. Effect 1. Body Enhancement times 2. Effect 2. Bleed, which causes continuous damage to the target. It drains 1% of the target's max health every second. Shang Ting casually tossed the weapon in his hand. In an instant, it flew right back to his grasp. Body enhancement and a bleed effect? Now this was more like it. Looking at the sharp blade, the corner of Shang Ting's mouth curled into a smirk. The title's enhancement plus this God Hunter sword, his starting line was already miles ahead of any normal person. Plus, he knew the entire script for what came next. He struck his best-looking pose for the camera. Next up, Level 2 Abyss creatures would descend in 3 days. He was actually looking forward to it. Fear? He had no idea what that was. Game on, baby, game on. The next morning at Shang Ting's high school, the classroom was buzzing with gossip, from personal drama to neighborhood news. Shang Ting walked in after a long night, and as usual, his best friend greeted him with an overly cringy show of affection. He lunged forward with puckered lips, aiming for a kiss, but Shang Ting brutally and effortlessly sidestepped the advance. This sent the poor guy face-planting directly onto the floor. After he finally managed to sit back up, the student turned to look back at Shang Ting with a deeply suspicious expression. Why did his best friend feel so different today? He almost thought his buddy had a sixth sense to have noticed the change in him. A faint smile touched Thuong Din's lips before he glanced away, figuring he was probably just being a little too sensitive. This airheaded friend of his wasn't smart enough to notice anyway. In a flash, he was already rushing over, buzzing with new information. He'd just heard the news the apocalypse was for real. Had Thuong Din seen the posts online? Apparently, tons of people saw monsters last night. How awesome is that? The kid then whipped out his trusty phone. He frowned as he explained it wasn't just their country seeing all this weird stuff. Strange phenomena were happening overseas, too. Some people even managed to post pictures of the monsters online. They wanted everyone to see. But unfortunately, the government shut it all down pretty fast. Luckily, this kid was quick enough to save one picture to show Thuong Din today. And there it was, a photo of a muscular soldier carrying a level 1 beast on his shoulder, giving a thumbs up like it was some kind of trophy. He told Thuong Din to look closely. The guy was a special forces soldier from another country who said the monster just appeared out of nowhere. It popped up at the foundation of a building still under construction. The friend also guessed that after the soldier killed the monster, something incredible must have happened. He grabbed his clueless buddy by the shoulders, not letting him zone out. The friend continued his story. The soldier said he received some kind of mysterious reward, a superpower. A real superpower, you understand? The guy now wields the power of lightning, and he was totally serious about it. And you know what that meant? This was a huge opportunity for both of them, even though they missed the first chance. His friend's theory was that the monsters would definitely show up again. Next time, all they had to do was team up. They could snag a superpower for themselves to try out. Wouldn't that be amazing? And unlike usual, this crazy suggestion was met with a swift yes from Thuong Din, a surprisingly fast agreement. Meanwhile, back in class, the teacher pushed up her glasses. She started addressing the rumors that had been spreading all over the internet today. She hoped everyone would ignore them, not spread them, and stop discussing them. For them, studying was the most important thing. But Thuong Din didn't see it that way. In just 3 more days, that teacher would definitely not be saying the same thing. His quiet remark immediately caught his friend's attention. Did Thuong Din know something he didn't? When the final bell rang, ending the school day, Thuong Din's best friend stood in front of him, looking absolutely frantic. Before Thuong Din could even process what was happening, his friend was dragging him outside with a dead serious look on his face. On the basketball court where students were hanging out, the blonde-haired kid walked ahead with a grim expression. He clasped his hands behind his back, trying to look as cool as possible, with a confused Thuong Din scratching his head and trailing behind him. Once they stopped in the middle of the court, the friend finally voiced the question that had been bothering him for a while. Thuong Din was hiding something from him, wasn't he? But his best friend simply hesitated, struggling to find the words. How was he supposed to explain this? Seeing Thuong Din's reluctance to share his secret, his friend started to get overly dramatic. He even threatened to walk away and burst into tears. After all this time as friends, now he was keeping secrets? Clearly, he didn't care about him anymore. From this day forward, they were done. Their friendship was over. Goodbye and good riddance. See you tomorrow. Seeing his friend resort to his usual waterworks, Thuong Din finally gave in. Stop messing around. His once best friend immediately turned back, eyes welling up with tears, his fragile heart about to break. He really thought they were the best of brothers. But it seemed that was all just in his own head. At this, Thuong Din let out a long sigh. He had planned to tell his buddy just a little later. But he had to make sure this would absolutely not be told to a third person. When it came to keeping secrets, though, wasn't this blonde kid supposed to be the master? If he was number 2, no one dared claim number 1. His mouth could run a little wild sometimes, but he always knew when to stop. Not only that, he put a hand on his chest to swear it. Thuong Din could trust him. How could he not be trusted? At that point, Thuong Din stepped onto a nearby ledge, ready to give a demonstration. He told his friend to open his eyes and watch closely. He was about to show him what real power looked like. And just like that, before his best friend's eyes, he curled his finger and flicked it gently against the corner of a wall. In the next moment, a piece of solid concrete was sent flying off in an instant. Seeing this, his friend was so shocked his eyes went wide. It looked like they could pop out at any second. Snot and sweat started pouring down his face like rain. His whole expression scrunched up, almost completely distorted. No freaking way. Was Thuong Din using some kind of hack? How was that possible? But faced with his friend's utter shock, Thuong Din just shrugged calmly. Pretty awesome, huh? It happened last night. He took down a monster all by himself, and in doing so, absorbed a power that matched its own strength. Hearing this, the blonde kid's eyes lit up, and he immediately reached out to grab and feel his friend's powerful hand. Oh my god, was this for real? This weirdly intimate moment between two guys was witnessed by a girl passing by. She was just walking past when she saw the bizarrely affectionate scene, sending a visible shiver down her spine. The girl couldn't hide her look of absolute disgust. Turns out male friendships can be a little too close. Completely oblivious to the judgment, Shang Ting just held up 3 fingers to his so-called best friend. The next beast appears in 3 days, and he already knew the exact location. If his friend wanted in on the action, Shang Ting was ready to help. This way, his buddy could get an ability too. Shang Ting laid out all the details for the next monster's appearance, but with all this info on the strange creatures, his friend was still suspicious. How could a regular student possibly know all this? What kind of secret was he hiding? Faced with the question, Shang Ting's expression only grew calmer. He just offered a mysterious smile. Some secrets are best kept. His friend would just have to wait and find out. After school, Shang Ting started his usual walk home, but his mind was racing, thinking about what was about to happen. The second abyss was set to appear in an abandoned factory, a full 30 miles away. Unlike the first abyss, this one would spawn 2 creatures. One was a monkey-type monster with blinding speed. On top of that, it used its claws as weapons, capable of slitting a human's throat in a single instant. But on the other hand, this creature had almost no defensive capabilities, and it looked just like a normal little monkey. A confident smirk crossed Shang Ting's face. As for the second creature, it looked like a silverback gorilla. While its speed was incredibly slow, its defensive strength and destructive power were off the charts. In the past, the mere sight of these 2 creatures would have sent Shang Ting into a full-blown panic. But now, whether it was strength or speed, he completely overpowered both of these monsters. The plan was simple: kill the first one instantly, cripple the second one so it couldn't fight back, and leave the rest for his best friend, Lian Chengwu. All his friend had to do was land the final blow. A perfect outcome, right? Lost in thought, Shang Ting suddenly looked up. He heard someone calling his name. A woman spotted him and immediately rushed over, her face a mask of pure panic. Seeing her hurry, Shang Ting actually laughed. "What's wrong, Auntie Wang? Why are you in such a rush?" Auntie Wang grabbed Shang Ting's arm and started pulling him along, wanting him to come over for dinner, just to liven up the house. The moment he heard the invitation, Shang Ting knew. "My uncle's here again, isn't he?" Looking at the eerily calm young man, Auntie Wang sighed in frustration. The boy had always been too smart for his own good. Nothing ever got past him. He knew his uncle had been watching his house constantly these days. She warned him that he was all alone and shouldn't confront the man. "Hide if you can," she said, "or things will get ugly." In response, Shang Ting simply placed his hands on Auntie Wang's shoulders. "What's coming is coming." He told her he appreciated the kindness and promised he would protect himself. And with that, he was done talking. Shang Ting turned and walked away, leaving Auntie Wang to watch him go. In her eyes, he was such a good kid. Why was fate so cruel to him? Meanwhile, in a high-rise building, two men were getting drunk together. The entire place was an absolute pigsty. The red-haired youth was busy snacking on sunflower seeds. He turned to the older man beside him and asked, "So, why isn't Shang Ting back yet? You think the little brat actually ran away?" The older man, face flushed red but still sober, was holding a half-empty bottle. He was extremely confident. He told his son that even if the kid never came back, it was no loss to them. In fact, it was a gain for them. They could just stay here permanently. After all, the will was on their side. This house is ours now. As the two were busy celebrating, the doorbell suddenly echoed through the apartment. It caught their attention. Could that rotten kid Shang Ting actually be back? At that moment, he stepped inside his own house. A murderous aura exploded from Shang Ting. He just stared at the garbage. What in the world did they do to his home to make it this filthy? It was bad enough that these two were squatting in his house, but to completely trash the place was another thing entirely. They were human beings, not pigs. How could anyone be so disgusting? They had absolutely no shame. "Hey, you moron!" Hearing Shang Ting cursing them out, the red-haired guy instantly jumped to his feet. He started screaming as if he and his father were the victims here. "Damn it, you little brat! Who do you think you're yelling at?" "Oh, really?" But before he could even finish venting, his father stepped in, raising a hand to stop him. Just then, the man known as Thung Din's uncle stood up, staggering over to him while slurring his words like a total drunk. According to him, Thung Ding had lived in this house long enough, and he, as the elder, had been more than merciful. Following this, the man moved closer to Thung Ding, a devious glint appearing in his eyes. He smirked and whispered in his ear that our guy was a grown man now. It was time he learned to be independent. So how about this, he should pack his bags right now and go rent his own room, to get a taste of self-reliance, you know? There was still time, and the sooner the better, right? Then, acting all high and mighty, the old man condescendingly tapped Thung Din's chest with a $50 bill, a little token from him. He told Thung Ding to take it, and he better not dare complain that it's too little. Seeing his father make a move, the red-haired son puffed up his chest and glared at Thung Ding. "What are you spacing out for? If you know what's good for you, pack your things and get the hell out of his house. Cooperate and you'll be fine. Don't, and you'll regret it." Through all of this, Thung Din just stood there, his gaze fixed seriously on the father-son duo. He knew their little scheme all too well. They thought they could do whatever they wanted with a forged will. "Cut the crap. You two are absolutely disgusting." Hearing the kid insult him, the old man's sweet facade vanished, replaced by a booming, alcohol-fueled roar. "What the hell are you talking about?" Was Thung Din accusing him of forging the will? Did he have any proof for a claim like that? He dared him to sue, boasting that with all his connections, there was no way a kid could ever win against him. Despite the challenge, Thung Ding managed to remain calm as he began to speak. When the old master was still alive, he and his mother were the ones who took care of him. Had these two ever lifted a finger, or did they just sit there waiting to be fed? When the old man was sick in the hospital, wasn't it Thung Ding and his mother who stayed by his bedside day and night? To pay for his treatment, his mother worked 4 jobs, and he had to take on 3 just to help her. And what about these two? One's an alcoholic so bad he's barely human, a creature even devils would fear. He even frequently stole money from the house just to satisfy his cravings. Seeing people live the way these two did was enough to make anyone else cover their face in shame. But even then, the uncle's face showed zero remorse. In fact, he shamelessly asked what the point of all this talk was. He had the will in his hands, which meant the house belonged to him. It was that simple. Either get the courage to sue him, or obediently get the hell out of his house. He gave him 2 options. The choice was his. Not only that, his son chimed in with a sneer, mocking him. Sounding so noble, but weren't he and his mother just after the house? As he saw it, his mother getting hit by a car was just karma paying her back. His whole family was worthless. He called Thung Ding a bastard and his mother a rotten whore. Still trying to act so noble, huh? "You animal!" That was the last straw. Thung Ding couldn't hold back any longer. For insulting his mother, these guys were done for. Just like that, Thung Ding gritted his teeth, his eyes wide with rage as he screamed, telling the disrespectful bastard to take back what he just said. But talking to these two was pointless. In fact, his anger only seemed to make the son even more ecstatic. Slapping his own face a few times, the red-haired punk taunted him even further. "Oh, did I hit a nerve? Come on, you useless trash." This guy had no idea what he was messing with. He's acting all high and mighty now, but soon, he would regret every single word he just uttered. Backing up his son, the old man put his hands on his hips and smirked. What now? Was Thung Din really going to hit an elder? Did he actually have the guts? Come on then, they wouldn't kill him today. He couldn't take it anymore. Thung Ding clenched his fist and sent it flying right into his uncle's mouth before the man could even react. He was sent flying backward, much to the absolute shock of his own son. Seeing his dear father get wrecked like that, the red-haired kid obviously snapped, grabbing a small bottle and charging in to teach Thung Ding a lesson. But Thung Ding was on a whole new level now. A pathetic attack like this meant absolutely nothing to him. Quick as lightning, Thung Ding brought up his knee, slamming it hard into the red-haired guy's stomach. The guy let out a single grunt before he suffered the same fate as his father, getting sent flying backward. Now the red-haired punk was on the floor, trembling in pain, but even so, he still tried to force himself to look up. But Thwang Din's uncle wasn't scared in the slightest, even threatening to call the cops on him. He actually wanted to see him rot in a jail cell. Hearing this, Thwang Din just let out a single laugh before heading into his small room. The second he left, the father and son scrambled up to their feet. The older man trembled, clutching his head as he told his son that worthless punk actually dared to lay a hand on them. There was no way they were going to take this lying down. After all, didn't the old man know Chief Wang? He planned to have Thwang Din thrown right in jail. Meanwhile, inside his room, Thwang Din was furiously packing his bags. With the arrival of the second wave of Abyssals, the entire world was about to change. Drastically. He knew he couldn't cause too much trouble before then. The justice system was, after all, still a complete mess. But in 3 days, Thwang Din truly hoped that old geezer downstairs would finally get a lesson he'd never forget. And oh, he was really looking forward to that day. After packing his things, Thwang Din stormed right out of the room. The moment they saw him, the father and son duo nearly jumped out of their skin, terrified he had overheard their dirty little revenge scheme. Without even giving the two a glance, Thwang Din's first instinct was to just walk straight out of the house. But then he stopped, turning back to face the two shameless leeches and snarled. 3 days left. He even advised them to go enjoy their lives while they still could, or else they'd seriously regret not partying it up. With that final word, Thwang Din left his uncle and cousin standing there, completely baffled and having no idea what he was talking about. And then he simply slammed the door shut. The uncle, still holding his wound, was just completely and utterly lost. Could it be? Did that kid really just give up on taking the house from them? Was his wild guess actually correct? Hearing this, the red-haired son was still seething over his earlier beatdown, gritting his teeth with nowhere to vent his fury. Done thinking, he just screamed out a curse. It's too late. Damn it to hell. He then whipped around to his father, yelling, "Old man, hurry up and call Chief Wang to sort this out." There was no way he could swallow this insult. While the father and son were still busy scheming, Thwang Din had already found a hotel. The moment he stepped in, he saw a ridiculously cool hotel owner, casually taking a drag from her cigarette. Seeing a young man checking in this late at night, the woman immediately spoke up with a sly look. "Here on a business trip? Handsome? How about a little massage?" The girls here have skills that are absolutely second to none. Faced with such a direct offer, a guy as innocent as Thwang Din instantly blushed a deep shade of red. His eyes darted down to the floor, avoiding the sexy woman's gaze. No, he definitely didn't need any of those wonderful services. He was getting a really bad feeling about this place. Maybe he should just find a different hotel. But this was the closest hotel to the second Abyssal Wave's location. He truly had no other option. While Thwang Din was debating what to do, a slender hand suddenly reached out and touched his own. Her voice followed, sweet as sugar. "A kid like you shouldn't be so shy, you know. Don't you know how much I like that? Just leave it to me. I guarantee you'll forget the way home tonight." Her actions were way too forward, and Thwang Din instinctively flinched and pulled back. Seeing this, the woman stopped teasing him. "Second floor, room 208. But still, don't be so quick to refuse. You might find yourself getting desperate later." And now, in a tacky pink and purple room, Thwang Din's breathing grew heavy. He clasped his hands together and frantically slapped himself across the face a few times. He had to shout out loud just to get his wandering mind back. This damn hotel was filled with way too many temptations. Grabbing a nearby pillow and shoving it into his face, Thwang Din basically started chanting holy scriptures to deny his urges. Just 2 more days, then he could leave. At that exact moment, in another room, a young girl screamed, unable to stand the suggestive sounds she was hearing. Seeing her young mistress's annoyed expression, a blonde woman holding a book decided to remind her of their purpose here. This hotel was the closest they could get to their target. She said whatever she heard, she'd just have to endure it. The girl found the place infuriating, but for the sake of their important mission, she forced herself to bottle up her anger. She then looked at the woman across from her, Aunt Bai, and asked, "So, what's your assessment of this situation?" According to Aunt Bai's analysis, judging from the tone, it was probably just someone playing around. She added that the breathing of the man in the opposite room told her it would all be over in less than 10 seconds. Hearing such a bizarre answer, the girl flushed with embarrassment and shouted, "Aunt Bai, what on earth are you talking about?" She was asking about the abandoned construction site. What did those two have to do with anything? The moment she understood, the silver-haired woman's expression completely changed. The atmosphere immediately turned serious. According to intel from the family head, their world has just gone through a shocking transformation, and the single most important key to survival in this new reality is simple: exterminate those monsters of unknown origin. She vows to her young miss that this time, she'll help her successfully land a kill and gain the power to stand on her own 2 feet. And just like that, the woman known as Aunt Bai extends her hand. 2 days later, they arrive at the second monster appearance site. At 11:30 at night, the area is dead silent, with only the rustling of the wind breaking the eerie calm. 2 dark figures cut through the night. It's Shang Ting and Lian Chengyu, walking right into the bone-chilling cold. Staring into the unnervingly quiet space, Lian Chengyu holds onto Shang Ting's arm, his eyes darting everywhere. His entire body trembles uncontrollably. He can't help but wonder if there's some hidden danger. Hearing Chengyu's naive question, Shang Ting just smirks with absolute confidence. "Relax," he says, "there's nothing dangerous here." A level 2 Abyssal is still a low-tier creature. It poses absolutely no threat to him. As for Lian Chengyu, all he needs to do is protect himself. Shang Ting will handle the rest of it. But Lian Chengyu's face is already pale with fear. He exhales, grips his weapon, and calls out to Shang Ting again. He says if things get truly dangerous, Shang Ting must lure the monster away so he can escape first. Otherwise, they're both dead. Hearing this, Shang Ting calmly tries to reassure his cowardly friend. "Don't worry," he says, "it'll be fine." But as his friend finishes talking, he's left completely speechless. Is Lian Chengyu really supposed to be his best brother? Lure the monster away so he can escape? What a joke. Some friends are completely useless. But there's no more time to argue. Shang Ting pulls out a small phone. They have 30 minutes left until the level 2 Abyssal appears. Hearing this, Lian Chengyu immediately chimes in. He asks what they should do if other people show up to kill the Abyssal. This question doesn't seem to faze Shang Ting at all. His eyes practically scream with pure, unshakable confidence. He tells him not to worry, no one's going to try and steal their prize. The reason for his certainty? It all goes back to that divine novel he read. According to the plot of that book, this level 2 Abyssal survives the entire night without being killed. Afterward, it rampages straight into the human city. This event is what makes everyone in the world finally see the stark reality of the changes that have occurred. But just as he thinks this, a sudden noise makes Shang Ting whip his head around in surprise. He instantly covers Lian Chengyu's mouth and pulls him into a corner to hide. Appearing right before them are 2 women who look absolutely ready for a fight. Isn't that Mu Chu? What in the world is she doing here? While Lian Chengyu is confused, Shang Ting's gaze remains fixed on the 2 mysterious figures. This shouldn't be happening. The novel's plot was crystal clear, wasn't it? So why are these 2 here? After a moment of careful observation, it clicks. Shang Ting lets out a soft ah. He finally understands. He realizes he's created this mess himself. What an absolute idiot. It wasn't that no one discovered the level 2 Abyssal. It's that the people who came to kill it were killed themselves or failed miserably and went home. Over on the other side, Mu Chu turns to the woman behind her, her expression filled with worry. Noticing her niece's concern, Aunt Bai places a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Don't worry," she says. "Now they will go inside together." Seeing the 2 women advance, a frantic Lian Chengyu whips his head back toward the silent Shang Ting. He'd heard rumors that Mu Chu's family was incredibly powerful, and now he's seeing proof with his own eyes. That woman beside her gives off the vibe of a special forces soldier. Lian Chengyu grows even more panicked when he gets no response from his friend. Didn't Shang Ting say Mu Chu wouldn't get any powers? Or could it be that the cold-faced woman is the one who will gain the ability? At that, Shang Ting's eyes become fiercely determined. No matter what, he absolutely will not give up this level 2 Abyssal to anyone else. He'll do whatever it takes to secure it. Meanwhile, Mu Chu and Aunt Bai step into the Abyssal's appearance zone together. The air inside is so cold that anyone who enters can't help but shiver. Mu Chiu stares in shock at the giant number 2 printed on the ground. Aunt Bai. Is the monster really going to come out of here? The silver-haired woman quickly kneels down, placing her hands on the ground to feel its condition. According to the intelligence she received, they just have to wait until midnight. Something is scheduled to appear from this very spot. A magic circle begins to materialize, and from that twisted portal, monsters start crawling out. They already knew the monsters here were incredibly tough, forcing them to stay on high alert at all times. Just then, Aunt Bai reaches into her bag and pulls out an item, and yep, that's a bomb she's holding. She'd built it herself after careful calculations for this very scenario, designed to severely wound the beast. The goal wasn't to kill the Abyss-type monster, but to cripple it. She turns her head toward Mu Chiu. After a quick word of warning, she hands a small pistol over to the girl. The plan was simple. Once the bomb heavily injures the creature, Mu Chiu would move in to deliver the final blow. Taking the gun, Mu Chiu agrees. She's still clearly worried, but she has to see this through no matter what. She was determined. But meanwhile, high above, Shang Ting and Lian Chengyu were watching their every move. Why were they even here? Wasn't this far too dangerous? But in response to that thought, Shang Ting remained perfectly calm. He asks Lian Chengyu if he could possibly think of a better strategy. And of course, he couldn't. For now, they were sticking to Shang Ting's plan. They would lay low and observe their next move. From their high vantage point, they saw Mu Chiu, standing in one spot, while the silver-haired woman knelt down, one hand pressed firmly to the ground. She was observing with intense focus. It didn't take long for Shang Ting to grasp their intentions. So they were using a bomb as their main weapon? Creative. It looked like neither Mu Chiu nor the woman with her possessed any special abilities. He almost felt sorry for them, but for a reason only he would understand. He knew a small bomb like that might seriously injure the first Abyss creature. But the second one? The second one was a completely different story. There was no way it could deal a fatal blow. In fact, it would only send the beast into a furious rage. A small smirk plays across Shang Ting's lips. If things went down exactly as he predicted, this was a golden opportunity for him and Lian Chengyu. After those two managed to wound the first monster, he would only need to focus on the second one. 2 birds with 1 stone. Absolutely perfect. Down below, on the ground, their preparations were complete. With everything in place, Aunt Bai's eyes turned bloodshot, staring intensely ahead as her mouth began to move. A silent countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As the count hit 0, both women snapped into their stances. They were ready to face the vicious monster. Suddenly, a massive gust of wind tore through the clearing. Dark energy swirled through the air, and on the ground, a seal with incredibly strange patterns began to glow. Under the bright moonlight, a pillar of crimson light erupted into the sky, blasting the clouds away. The red and black energy crackled and pulsed. And then, within the haze, 2 new silhouettes appeared. It was 2 Abyss-type monsters. And hearing this, Mu Chiu and her aunt let out a cheer of excitement. They couldn't believe it. 2 of them showed up? Perfect. Seeing their thrilled expressions, Shang Ting could only sigh from above. So naive. 2 foolish women. They had no idea what was coming. Aunt Bai gripped the detonator, shouting to Mu Chiu, "This is our chance, now." Her voice was followed by a deafening explosion that shattered the quiet night. A blinding flash of light erupted. No one knew if their plan would actually work, or if it would fail just as spectacularly, as Shang Ting had already predicted. Once the bomb went off, thick black smoke billowed out. Aunt Bai seemed even more confident now, whispering to Mu Chiu to brace herself and get ready to fight. But then, the unexpected happened. The gorilla-like creature slammed its fists against its chest and roared. It was a roar of pure fury. Seeing the beast was completely unharmed, Mu Chiu and Aunt Bai's faces went pale. Total confusion. Why didn't the attack work? But wait, something was wrong. One of the creatures was down. Seeing its companion lying unconscious on the ground, the gorilla-like monster snorted a cloud of steam. The next second, it went completely berserk, launching itself straight at the 2 strangers before it. Facing the monster's charge, Aunt Bai immediately raised her gun and fired relentlessly, trying to keep it at bay. But it seemed she had made a massive mistake. When she lowered her gun, the beast didn't have a single scratch. In fact, it was even angrier, leaping high into the air to attack. Sensing disaster, Aunt Bai grabbed Mu Chiu's hand. If Mu Chiu gets caught, it's all over. They had to run, otherwise they were dead meat. But with their speed, there was no way. They could match the agility of that giant ape. The moment its feet hit the ground, this Yuan species slammed a fist weighing 1,000 pounds right into the earth, forcing Mu Chiu and Auntie Bai to desperately twist away in midair. But that was the exact opening the ape was waiting for, when they couldn't fight back. It immediately threw its second punch. Just to protect Mu Chiu, Auntie Bai shoved her out of the way, taking that lethal blow all by herself. The second she hit the ground, Auntie Bai no longer had the strength to even move. Her body was broken, pain erupting from everywhere, but she still forced herself to look towards Mu Chiu, trembling as she told her to run. But right then, Mu Chiu wasn't doing much better than Auntie Bai. She shakily sat up, only to see the demonic ape's face looming right in front of her. This time, she was well and truly terrified. She started crying, begging the beast not to kill her, then shut her eyes tight and turned away. She was bracing for a painful end, but then a loud thud echoed unexpectedly. Right after that, the silhouette of a young man appeared, having just sent the ape flying into a wall with a single, powerful blow. And just like that, in Mu Chiu's eyes, the incredibly cool figure of Shang Ting appeared. But he was probably the only one who knew his entire hand was shaking like a leaf. This Yuan species was built like a tank. One little punch hurt like absolute hell. At that moment, Auntie Bai managed to drag her shattered body over, crying as she scrambled towards Mu Chiu. Seeing the two women clinging to each other, Shang Ting's voice cut through the air, cold as ice, warning them both to get out of this place. That level 2 Yuan species was not something either of them could possibly handle. Through her blurred vision, Mu Chiu looked up and saw Shang Ting. Why was he even here? But in response to her unspoken question, Shang Ting's voice just got colder. He said he didn't need to explain anything, they just needed to leave. Now, the words had barely left his mouth when the ape suddenly lunged right at him, ready to attack. The two of them immediately clashed, with ferocious intensity, sparks flying everywhere. Shang Ting quickly grabbed the beast's enormous wrist and let out a huge roar, then used all his strength to slam it right into the ground. Of course, a move like that didn't come without a price. He was already losing strength. His breathing became more and more ragged, his trembling hands bracing his legs to keep his balance. A tenfold body enhancement, and this was all he could manage a stalemate? It was honestly hard to believe. With no other options, Shang Ting pulled out the blade from before, his eyes filled with grim resolve. If brute strength couldn't do it, then he had to finish this in the shortest time possible. And over on the other side, Shang Ting wasn't the only one. Who was shaking the ape was trembling just as much. Its face was covered in sweat, and its eyes now flashed with fear. Let's see if this beast still had the guts to attack. Wasting no time, Shang Ting gripped the sharp blade in his hand, his eyes locked on the Yuan species as he shot forward. His actions were swift and decisive, instantly closing the distance, to face the monster again. Shang Ting raised the blade with both hands for one powerful swing, met by the creature's terrified roar. And with that, Shang Ting's entire body flashed past the ape after the attack, pulling a trail of black energy out behind him. In that moment, the corner of Shang Ting's mouth curled into a smirk, joined by a system notification. Congratulations, Human Frame 01, you have successfully eliminated a level 2 Yuan species. Shang Ting's satisfied smile was answered by the beast's final scream, a deep wound now marked by the blade in its stomach. There was no way the creature could survive an attack that devastating. A moment later, from inside the Yuan species body, two rewards shot out a slingshot and a crystal shard. This incredible scene was witnessed by Auntie Bai and Mu Chiu. Both of them were completely dumbfounded, their mouths hanging wide open in shock. Only Shang Ting was thoroughly satisfied, his grin growing wider by the second. But the most important thing right now was that idiot, Lian Chengyu. Instantly looking up, Shang Ting yelled at the top of his lungs, reminding his friend, "Get down here already. What are you hesitating for? You want to watch birds all night?" Hearing himself get called out so shamelessly, Lian Chengyu, from high above, strained his neck to yell right back, like he wasn't trying to get down, and whose fault was that? What an absolute bully. Having no other choice, Shang Ting leaped into the air, grabbed the kid by the collar with one hand, and just yanked him down, scaring the soul right out of him. That was just way too violent. He hadn't even landed on the ground, and recovered his senses before Shang Ting pointed a finger at the unconscious Yuan species on the ground, and ordered his friend to finish it off. As he slowly crawled up to do as Shang Ting said, they both froze when a woman's voice called out, asking why on earth they were still hanging around. Mu Chiu explained she couldn't possibly leave without properly thanking the people who just saved her life. Seeing them act so formal, he didn't want to waste words, but he did want to warn them. Don't even think about it, he would absolutely not be giving up this Yuan species corpse. At this, Aunt Bai grew more anxious and decided to make him an offer he couldn't possibly refuse. Seeing her plead, Lian Chengyu's resolve softened, and he was about to speak up, but Shang Ting suddenly shoved a sharp knife into his hand. No more delays. This was the deal Shang Ting had promised him, so it was time to act. Without another thought, Lian Chengyu gripped the knife and plunged it straight into the monster's chest, making it let out one last agonizing scream. With their target finally dealt with, two rewards materialized in front of Lian Chengyu, and the system announcement echoed. Congratulations, Human 1666. You have successfully eliminated a level 2 Yuan species. He jumped, momentarily startled by the notification, but Shang Ting quickly spoke up to calm him down, telling him not to be so surprised by it all. Having failed her objective, Mu Qi told Aunt Bai it was time to leave. But Aunt Bai wasn't done yet. She felt like they could still negotiate. This teenager clearly possessed intelligence that far surpassed their own, but she assured him his secrets were safe, they wouldn't dare ask too many questions. So, she wanted to hire him to kill the next monster that appears. As for payment, he could name any price. She wouldn't spare any expense. After all, Aunt Bai believed there was nothing the Mu family couldn't do in this city. After a moment of thought, Shang Ting finally replied. He told her he just needed a little more time to think, but for now, the two of them really needed to leave. Seeing he didn't refuse her, Aunt Bai was thrilled. All right, if you decide, you can contact our young Miss, Mu Chu, any time. And just like that, he watched the two of them walk away. Shang Ting let out a long, deep sigh. That was way too exhausting. After they left, two glowing stones appeared for him, and Lian Chengyu. Two bright stones appeared in their hands. According to him, all they had to do was swallow them. He popped the crystal into his mouth, and immediately, a bizarre power surged through his entire body, clearing out all his meridians. His meridians flared as a dark aura erupted with violent force. And from within this shadowy energy, a new system notification appeared. The message was clear. Noble Soul had been successfully activated. Its first effect was to drastically strengthen the host's body. He received a 10-fold increase to his maximum strength, and his durability was also boosted by 10 times. The second effect enhanced his neural reaction speed, doubling his maximum human reflexes and pushing them to their limit. His overall ability was boosted by 10%. After absorbing it all, Shang Ting let out a breath of relief. He felt amazing, casually rolling his wrists. A 10% increase? That was pretty damn good, but as soon as he finished, he looked over at Lian Chengyu, who was completely zoned out. What are you spacing out for? What's your ability? In response, Lian Chengyu's expression was anything but happy as he raised a hand to his head. He nervously scratched his head. His new ability was Eagle Eye, extending his vision up to 2,000 meters, but it seemed totally useless. Seeing his friend so down, Shang Ting gave him a hard shove to snap him out of it. An ability like Eagle Eye? Dude, you basically hit the jackpot. Shang Ting then turned to him. He looked back at Lian Chengyu and tossed him the pistol. Right after, the system displayed Firepower Level 1. The effective range was 500 meters, dealing 10% base damage, burning the target, and reducing their movement by 10%. It came with 5 elemental firebombs, with a 10-second reload time for each. With stats like these, Shang Ting was definitely satisfied. Not bad at all. He then glanced at his dazed friend again. So what's your weapon ability? A confident smirk spread across Lian Chengyu's face. His weapon's power was 100% accuracy within his line of sight, with the 5th shot dealing 10% of the target's max health. Hearing this, Shang Ting was genuinely happy for his best friend. Getting a skill that good was a serious game changer. But at his words, Lian Chengyu just blushed in embarrassment. He knew he couldn't have gotten any of this on his own. It was all thanks to his sworn brother. And with that, the two friends threw their arms over each other's shoulders and left. Now it was time to head home for some well-deserved sleep. Because starting tomorrow, the world was about to undergo a major change. The moment they had both been waiting for was finally approaching. This was an era that was about to belong to them. Meanwhile, after leaving the monster site, Aunt Bai and Mu Chu got into their car. Sitting inside, Aunt Bai looked very serious. Quick to notice her young lady's unhappy mood, the woman immediately apologized to her. This was her mistake. She had failed to help the great lady Mu Chu awaken any special powers at all. Just then, a voice suddenly crackled through her earpiece, giving a new directive. Aunt Bai quickly responded. The person on the line wanted information on the young man from earlier. Aunt Bai immediately provided the details. He was Mu Chu's classmate. His name was Shang Ting. She assured them that she would investigate the boy's background within a day. Cutting the connection, Aunt Bai let out a tired sigh. Shang Ting. Huh. This was about to get complicated. Meanwhile, in a newly rented hotel room, some rather embarrassing sounds just wouldn't seem to stop. This made Cheng Yu a little uneasy. Were the two of them really planning on staying here all night? Cheng Yu was clearly uncomfortable, but Shang Ting had already been here for 2 days. He'd get used to it. Shang Ting still had plenty of money left, but he knew the entire currency system was about to be completely overturned anyway. Hearing that, the young Cheng Yu made a bizarre expression anyone who saw it would think he was some kind of pervert. Completely creeped out by his friend's weird face, Shang Ting defensively crossed his arms. He warned Cheng Yu not to come any closer, or he might catch something. In response, Cheng Yu's face turned bright red, but he just kept grinning mischievously. Goes to show, if you have a dirty mind, everything you think is twisted. Teased by Cheng Yu, Shang Ting was hit right where it hurt and stormed out, unable to think of a comeback. He needed 8 hours of sleep to prepare to welcome the new world. He opened the door for a delivery. Suddenly, Shang Ting's figure was caught in the gaze of a seductive red-haired woman, and they just stared. The encounter left him beet red. Closing the door, he took a deep breath. She was a total bombshell. Now, to await the new world. At 8 a.m. today, the sun across the entire world will simultaneously disappear. It will be replaced by a green sun, called the Luc der Nuert, in the book. With the appearance of the green sun, the entire world will be bathed in a green glow. A mysterious voice will echo in everyone's ears, telling them that Earth has become the playground of the Abyssals. As the green sun appeared, the entire world realized the seriousness of the situation. Governments worldwide held emergency conferences as the third and fourth waves of Abyssals appeared, awakening even more ability users. And just like that, the world was changed forever. The 5 major world powers formed a special response team. They began to establish the first training facilities for powered individuals. Scientists around the world also set aside their national prejudices. Together, they developed new weapons to fight the Abyssals, but unfortunately, it was completely useless. Humanity's weapons were basically harmless against the Abyssals. While eating, Shang Ting explained this. Cheng Yu was a bit curious how many ability users were in their area. Probably not that many, right? He was likely the strongest one there. So where did that put him? Globally, there were estimated to be no more than 20 ability users. In terms of ability, Cheng Yu could at least rank in the top 30. Suddenly, Shang Ting jumped. Then, he bolted outside. Seeing his friend run off like that, Cheng Yu put the pieces together like a modern-day detective. He guessed it, his best friend Shang Ting was a regressor. How annoying. Why couldn't he be the one who came back? Downstairs, Shang Ting was asking the red-haired woman a question. She did indeed know the girl he mentioned, but she wasn't a local. She was an outsider who just rented a room there from time to time. Her looks and figure were top-notch, meaning she could easily afford a better place. The woman really couldn't understand it. Hearing this, Shang Ting was overjoyed. It was really her. Sister, what room is she in? Seeing the woman hesitate, Shang Ting tossed out a wad of cash. Is this enough? After confirming the girl was in room 502, Shang Ting moved fast. According to the book, there are a total of 12 top-tier ability users on Earth. Each one of them possesses the power to single-handedly destroy a city. They're also known as the 12 heavenly spirit powers. The abilities of the 12 are all named after the 12 constellations. One woman's power is the Scorpion Destroyer. Because of this, she calls herself Scorpion. Among the 12, she could easily rank in the top 5. Not even the book recorded this woman's real name. No one knew her origin or her past, but on her back was a tattoo of a thorny rose. Scorpion was extremely cruel to men. Her greatest pleasure was to defeat and torture all men while cultivating a male harem. Because of this, many speculated that Scorpion may have had a very specific profession in the past. Everything she does now stems from dissatisfaction and revenge for her previous life. A thorny rose, a special profession. Statistically speaking, she had to be the Scorpio. But even if she was, what could Shang Ting even say? He figured her heart was filled with hate for men. How could he even start a conversation? Suddenly, the door swung open. The young man outside jumped back, completely startled. The woman struck a seductive pose, and her voice dripped with allure. Well, isn't it the little guy from before? She ignored the fact that he was trembling with embarrassment, reaching a hand out to him. She caressed his cheek, beckoning him to follow as she whispered in his ear, her hot breath tracing his neck. 3,000 a session, no haggling. Hearing this, Shang Ting was so mortified he immediately turned to run. You've got it all wrong. Goodbye. Standing in the hall, the red-haired woman watched the kid flee, crossing her arms with a mysterious look. Something wasn't right about that kid. It seemed she couldn't stay here any longer. Back in the room, Her friend was sleeping like the dead. Shang Ting still hadn't recovered from the shock. He just couldn't do it. Now, all he could do was wait for 8 o'clock. The clock ticked over to 7:59 in the morning. Zhen Yu groggily opened his eyes to see Shang Ting standing by the window. He mumbled about wanting more rest, but his friend just said, 1 minute left. Zhen Yu shot up, completely stunned. Just as predicted, a brilliant green light streaked down from the heavens, swirling into a massive vortex. This time, it has begun. Down on the streets, the green light made everyone feel an overwhelming wave of exhaustion. Why did the sun turn green? What in the world is going on? Is this some kind of reality show stunt? But this was no TV show. That green light coiled tighter and tighter, completely replacing the sun in the sky. Meanwhile, the red-haired woman was yawning, suitcase in hand. She was dead tired. She could have slept until noon, and it was all because of that strange kid. As she grumbled to herself, she finally noticed something was wrong. Why is the sun green today? Doctors never said that cancer patients go colorblind, did they? But it was undeniably beautiful. She raised a hand to the sky, and suddenly, the Scorpio constellation blazed to life before her. The vision sent her staggering backward, collapsing onto the ground. Elsewhere, witnessing this bizarre event, Shang Ting knew what was coming. He warned Zhen Yu to brace himself. The words had barely left his mouth when a booming voice echoed across the world. "Oh, foolish and despicable humans of Earth. Good morning. I trust you've received the gifts I sent you. Many of you now possess abilities far exceeding anything previously known on your little planet. Therefore, starting today, the game is officially established. The name of the game is the Abyssal Progenitor War. What has come to Earth is a magic circle called the Abyss, and the monsters that appear from it are called Abyssal Progenitors. Kill an Abyssal Progenitor, and you will receive transcendent powers. Listen up, foolish humans. The Abyss can appear at any time, and anywhere on Earth. The Abyss is numbered from 1 to 9, with 999 instances appearing each time. Within each Abyss, anywhere from 1 to 9 Abyssal Progenitors will spawn. The rule to win is simple. Eliminate them all, annihilate the Abyssal Progenitors, and claim victory for humanity. Conversely, if you fail, your Earth becomes our next meal. Well, that's enough talking for now. A game with too many hints and spoilers is no fun at all. So, have a good time, humans." With that, the alien presence vanished, leaving Earth under a blindingly bright sun once more. Zhen Yu immediately whipped his head around to face Shang Ting. "Humanity will win in the end, right?" he asked, but Shang Ting met his question with silence. Memories from before came flooding back. This time, it would be different. Elsewhere, in an emergency meeting, a grim reality was setting in. As you all know, reports from nations across the globe confirm it. This event is very much real. The Earth is about to become a playground for some unknown mystical entity. Hearing Mu Weiguo's words, one man couldn't take it anymore, slamming his fist on the table. He refused to believe it. These so-called monsters couldn't possibly withstand modern firearms. No carbon-based life form in the world can survive being engulfed in flames. At that, Zhu Wanli proposed a plan for immediate, nationwide military intervention. The moment one of these abyss things appears, the government will move to destroy it, minimizing any harm to innocent civilians. A white-haired man immediately stood up to object. That plan is not sound at all. According to the latest intelligence he'd received, Abyssal Progenitors had already appeared during the second Abyss manifestation, and they were capable of withstanding small arms fire. According to Jiang Wenfeng, at the rate things were going, the next wave of Abyssal Progenitors might even be able to block large-scale conventional weapons. The only way forward now is to form a special abilities unit, gathering everyone with superpowers into an official military force. A force to combat the Abyssal Progenitors. Mu Weiguo heard this and agreed. But those with powers are a protected resource. They're guardians of Earth. But they're also an uncontrollable force. The only way to manage them is to bring them all together. And that job now falls to Wenfeng. With things as they are, the country is about to face a storm of unprecedented chaos. His mission: maintain stability, no matter the cost. Meanwhile, out on the streets, Chengwu is completely and utterly lost. He has no idea what they're supposed to do now. The world will quickly form a special organization just to deal with the abyssal threat. Of course, Shang Ting has zero intention of joining them. They'll operate as mercenaries, cooperating on their own terms. He knows how this goes in the original story. The hero joined the government, got bogged down by red tape, and missed out on key resources. And that's a mistake Shang Ting absolutely refuses to make. Sure, joining up has its perks, but their freedom of action would be gone. That's why, before anything else, he needs to take care of some personal business. The next abyssal wave isn't for another half month. During that time, They'll need to undergo intense special training to prepare for the third onslaught of these creatures. But seeing the look on Shang Ting's face, Cheng Wu gets a little worried. This personal business doesn't involve his own uncle, does it? Still, whatever Shang Ting does, Cheng Wu will support him. He just prays his friend doesn't become a true villain in the process. After all, these two brothers just want to be heroes who save the world. At that moment, in Shang Ting's house, a father and son are getting wasted. They're complaining about how unfair life is, even though they got the house and survived the apocalypse. But now monsters have appeared, as if fate itself is determined to keep them from enjoying their stolen life. They could have had it all so much sooner if it wasn't for that bastard Shang Ting, who they think deserves to die. But things have gone too far to turn back. This father-son duo has to seize their chance and live the good life now. As he's talking to his son, the old man suddenly sees him collapse. He assumes it's the booze, but then notices a dark aura seeping from his body. In that exact moment, Shang Ting walks in holding a knife, startling the old man so badly that he falls right over. He turns his blood-splattered face towards his uncle and says, "Uncle, it's your turn now." Seeing the unhinged look in the boy's eyes, the man begs for his life, pleading that he's family, that they share the same blood. Family? What a joke. When Shang Ting's mother was alive, they did everything they could to humiliate both of them. When his mother was deathly ill in the hospital, not only did they refuse to pay, they cursed her to die faster right in her own room. After she died, they plotted to steal the very house his mother and grandfather had left specifically for him. And this is what he calls family? If Shang Ting hadn't tried to live peacefully to honor his mother, did he really think they'd still be alive? At these words, the man is so terrified he almost wets his pants, pleading with Shang Ting not to kill him. He knows he was wrong, and he's willing to tell Shang Ting a secret, an earth-shattering secret, in exchange for his life. But at this point, begging is useless. Forgiving this man is a matter for his mother and grandfather to handle. Shang Ting's only job is to send him to meet them. But as the blade descends, the old man lets out a final, desperate scream. He knows who was responsible for his mother's death. Hearing this, Shang Ting immediately freezes in place. He knows who killed his mom? In an instant, the boy's entire demeanor changes. "Who was it?" he demands. Trembling before the boy, the man spills it all. The one who hit her was Director Wang's nephew. He was drunk driving and killed Shang Ting's mother. The only reason he knows is because he went to a nightclub with Director Wang once, who got drunk and let the secret slip. Because of that, he's had leverage over the director for years, surviving by kissing up to the man who covered up the crime. So that was it. No wonder after all this time, not a single clue about the perpetrator had ever been found. After explaining everything, the man slowly starts backing toward the door. He's told him everything he knows, so, if there's nothing else, he'll just be on his way. Leaving Shang Ting behind, the man makes a break for it. The moment he's free, his expression shifts to pure hatred, cursing the bastard behind him and vowing revenge. But before he can even finish plotting against his nephew, his knees suddenly buckle beneath him. A blade withdraws from inside his chest. Watching this, the corner of Shang Ting's mouth curls into a cold smirk. He recalls the blade to his hand. At that exact moment, Cheng Wu opens the door and is completely stunned by the scene. Lying on the floor is the man's corpse. What happened? Seeing his friend's shock, Shang Ting speaks calmly. "It's just a little mess," he says. "You'll get used to it later. For now, help me pack my bags." They're preparing to leave immediately. Half an hour is all Cheng Wu needs to master his eagle eye ability. After they finish packing, Shang Ting looks at Cheng Wu with a smirk and asks, "Ready to go? Then let's move out." 10 days later, cruising down the highway, Aunt Bai still can't believe that Shang Ting actually agreed to her offer. With their backing, the plan was set. They would help Mu Chiu kill an Abyssal and finally claim its power for herself. Mu Chiu was honestly shocked they agreed. Shang Ting had always been a mystery, but her classmate was hiding something major. He had been concealing his identity for so long. She had no idea what his background was, and even Ye Bai's connections, and couldn't dig up anything on him. That alone proved one thing: his family was anything but ordinary. Just then, the two of them arrived at the abandoned factory Shang Ting had mentioned. But who was that waiting for them? They quickly got out of the car, and the moment the guy saw them, he broke into a huge, welcoming smile. Mu Chiu was still trying to figure out who he was when it hit her. It was that kid, Lian Chengyu, with a brand new haircut. Gone was the wild lion's mane, and Chengyu was soaking it all in. Had it only been a few days and they already forgot him? Or maybe it was because he looked so much more handsome now? Looking at the kid, Ye Bai still couldn't quite believe it. According to the reports, people with abilities were supposed to have some minor changes in their appearance, but Chengyu's transformation was massive. Suddenly, a backpack flew through the air, and Shang Ting appeared from nowhere. He stepped out and cut them off. "Quit showing off, kid. Enough talk. Everyone get in the car." Seeing Shang Ting, who had already gotten in, Cheng Yu couldn't help but laugh. Look who's talking, trying to act all cool and mysterious, like some kind of master. Once they were all inside, Ye Bai asked Shang Ting directly, "So where are we going now?" In response, he just propped his hand on the car door and laid it out. The four of them needed to move. The third Abyss Tower would appear early this morning in the next city over, City A. The exact location would be the underground garage of the abandoned Twin Towers. At the predicted spot, at 11:30 p.m., the symbol of the Abyss appeared right before their eyes. It was really happening. Right at that moment, Shang Ting glanced at the person beside him, needing one last confirmation. "Have you checked the perimeter?" Hearing this, Ye Bai was completely confident. She had already scanned the entire area, and there were zero signs of any human activity. Hearing that certainty in her voice, Shang Ting let a small, relieved smile slip out. "Good. In that case, we're set." They had 3 hours until the Abyssal appeared. He told the girls to protect themselves and to leave the rest to Shang Ting. But just then, Cheng Yu swaggered over and slung an arm around him. "Shouldn't you say, 'Leave it to the both of us'?" Shang Ting just looked annoyed, pushing the cocky kid to one side. He better not mess this up for them. And then, the clock struck midnight. In the sky above, swirling masses of dark energy began twisting together. Just as predicted, they had arrived. That was the signal for both Ye Bai and Mu Chu to duck for cover. From within the dark energy, a slimy, grotesque abyssal materialized. And this time, its size was absolutely massive, but there was no need to worry. "Cheng Yu, you remember what I told you earlier?" he asked, handing a gun to his friend. Of course, Cheng Yu remembered. He remembered every last detail. This time, the abyssal was a slime type. Its attack methods were twofold. First, spitting corrosive acid from its mouth, and second, attacking with its tentacle-like limbs. He aimed carefully. Cheng Yu's job was to sever all of its tentacles as fast as he could, while Shang Ting would deliver the finishing blow, right? After confirming the plan, he knew he had to shoot the abyssal, but, looking at its slimy form, Cheng Yu couldn't help but grimace in disgust. It was ugly and poorly designed. Its very appearance was just an insult to anyone looking at it. Facing the slime monster, Shang Ting spoke up. "This thing is gross. Let's make it quick." Without giving them a second to wait, the slime monster immediately lashed out with its tentacles, attacking the two of them. Facing the ambush head-on, Cheng Yu instantly activated his ability, creating a small lens in front of his eye. He gripped the gun tightly and squeezed the trigger. "Break for me, you piece of trash." The sound of gunfire echoed non-stop through the space. The bullets Cheng Yu fired immediately severed countless tentacles, big and small, from the monster. That was Shang Ting's cue. He charged forward, slashing wildly without a hint of hesitation. With his speed, after locking on to his target, Shang Ting crouched down to gather his strength and launched himself forward. Twisting midair, he brought his blade down hard on the monster, slicing off the tentacle on top of the slime's head. The moment the monster was at its weakest, its whole body trembling violently, Shang Ting called out to Mu Chu and Ye Bai. "You can come over now." He tossed Mu Chi his knife. He was giving this kill to her. "It's all yours, finish it now." And just like that, as Mu Chi was about to bring the knife down and end the monster below her, something appeared from above, making Cheng Yu scream out a warning. "Everyone, get out of the way!" Realizing something was wrong, they all dove to the side. And then came a massive explosion. "There's someone else here? How is that possible?" they wondered, staring at the crater that had just been formed in the ground. A man's voice suddenly rang out. "Looks like you all just got a second chance at life." He stepped out from the shadows, a cocky smirk on his face. "Since you got lucky, I'll spare you this time. Now get lost. This creature belongs to me." Thung Ding was not happy about this guy's sudden appearance. So this is what Aunt Bai meant by not a soul in sight? It seems their intel wasn't exactly trustworthy. Seeing Thung Din's frustration, Aunt Bai didn't know what to say. All she could do was apologize for her mistake, admitting she hadn't been careful enough. Seeing them standing there quietly, the man spoke up again. "Now isn't the time to be pointing fingers, is it? If you know what's good for you, just scram." But something was off. According to the novel, the third Abyss Tower in City A was never targeted. It wasn't until the fourth Abyss Tower appeared that a power user stumbled upon this Abyss spawn and killed it. Could this be a butterfly effect? By now, the man had walked right up to Thung Ding. He rolled a few steel balls in his hand, his grin turning into a final warning. "Hey kid, you still here?" In response, Thung Ding just let out a quiet sigh, confusing the hell out of the guy. What on earth was that sigh for? Just then, Thung Ding cracked his knuckles, getting ready. The sigh wasn't for nothing, it was because he had already predicted this entire situation. And just like that, Thung Ding threw a punch straight at the stranger. The man reacted instantly, blocking the surprise attack with his own hand. The force of their clash sent energy blasting outwards. While Thung Ding looked a bit surprised, the man just grinned. Not bad, kid. You've got some power. In a flash, Thung Ding jumped back. Controlling steel balls meant he had to be a manipulation-type user, but for his physical strength to be this high was completely unexpected. At Thung Ding's signal, Trinvor opened fire, unleashing a barrage of bullets, but the man blocked every single shot with his steel balls. This world was full of surprises. Who would have thought two little punks could be this strong? A sarcastic smirk crept onto Trinvor's face. The fifth shot fired. As the man moved to block it with his steel balls, his face suddenly went pale, because this time, the fifth bullet tore right through his defense and ripped into his shoulder. That one shot sent him crashing to his knees, his whole body trembling in pain as he gritted his teeth in pure rage. "Hey, old man," Trinvor taunted. "Don't talk big if you can't back it up. You've already lost an arm. Why not just surrender?" Before they could finish, the man shot forward, dashing past Thung Ding and heading straight for Trinvor. A crazed smile spread across his face. Then, he swung his fist, aiming right for Trinvor. The blow sent the boy flying backwards. Seeing this, Thung Ding immediately charged in from behind, but he wasn't fast enough. The man whipped around, grabbed Thung Ding by the face, and slammed him straight into the ground. As soon as he looked up, Thung Ding saw the man's eyes glowing as he raised a hand high and brought it crashing down. What followed was a merciless beatdown, punch after punch hammering into his face. Looks like this guy's ability was some kind of power boost, but just strength alone wouldn't be enough. With one final devastating punch, the man sent Thung Ding flying. Witnessing this, both Aunt Bai and Mok Thu were stunned. They immediately aimed their guns at him, yelling, "Don't move!" But he completely ignored them, rushing forward and driving his elbow hard into Aunt Bai's stomach, knocking her to the ground. Now only Mok Thu was left standing. The man just sneered at her. "Listen, girl, I'd advise you not to do anything stupid. I told you all to get lost. Why didn't you just listen to your elder and scram?" He cracked his neck loudly. "You know, I wonder if a trip to the hospital costs money these days." The second he finished speaking, a voice called out, making him freeze. Out of nowhere, Thung Ding was back on his feet and charging straight at him. The sudden attack left the man completely shocked. How was that kid not even hurt? How is this possible? Before the long-haired man could even react, Thung Ding landed a solid punch, sending him flying backwards. After landing the hit, Thung Ding took a breath and rushed over to Trinvor, frantically checking on his arm. Trinvor could still move it, so it seems like nothing was broken. Looks like all that special training really paid off. Just then, Thung Ding turned to Mok Thu, telling her to use this chance to kill the Abyss spawn. After that, they would get out of here. Without hesitation, Mok Thu grabbed her knife and rushed the creature. She finished it off in a single, clean strike. Picking up Aunt Bai, Thung Ding handed Mok Thu an Abyss stone. "Swallow this now. We can answer questions later," he said. "Right now, we need to leave." The moment she swallowed the Abyss stone, Mok Thu felt a strange surge of power flowing through her. This was her new ability. Meanwhile, after that devastating blow from Thuong Din, the man is still lying on the ground, his face so swollen his own parents wouldn't recognize him. The only thing on his mind is who that kid was, and how in the world he could possess that kind of insane strength. The second he gets up, he makes a call, demanding, "What's taking so long? Did you run into some unexpected trouble or what?" "Don't even start," comes the reply. "I got jumped by a couple of brats, and they beat my face into a bloody pulp." He hangs up, fuming about his bad luck. He furiously kicks the door open, only for a red-haired woman to smirk at his pathetic state. "Well now, old man," she taunts. "Who on earth managed to beat you into looking like this?" The man beside her spits out his coffee in shock. He looks up, completely floored. In all of City A, is there really someone who could do that to him? What a surprise. "Captain," she says, "don't mind me. Maybe you should worry about the coffee on your lip." The battered man cuts in, eager to change the humiliating subject. "Those two kids are no joke. One of them was using a gun," he explains. "He shot and broke my arm right off the bat. The other one was even scarier. He knocked me out with a single punch." Hearing this, the captain strokes his chin, deep in thought. To take down a powerhouse like this with just one punch. Is that even possible? That kid's ability must be strength-based. If they could recruit them, their team's combat power would get a serious boost. But at the captain's words, a long-haired man crosses his arms in frustration. If you guys want to go, then go yourselves. He has zero interest in getting thrashed by those two brats again. He definitely learned his lesson the first time. The captain then turns his gaze to the only woman in the Rose Society. This one's on you. She bristles at the name. How many times do I have to tell you? My name is Thien Yet. Hearing this, the long-haired man smirks. She doesn't want to be a beauty. She wants to be a scorpion. I really don't get you at all. The words are barely out before Thien Yet swings to teach him a lesson, but he doesn't even flinch at her warning. Go on, take your best shot. This whole scene gives the captain a headache. Can you two just stop for a second? Keep arguing and you'll both get killed. Startled by his sharp tone, Thien Yet suddenly flashes a mischievous smile. Geez, Captain, always so dramatic. Fine, we'll stop arguing. We'll listen to everything you say from now on. Only then does the captain flash a bright smile. He gives Rose a deadline. 3 days. If the targets refuse to join, she is to kill them without a second thought. At that very moment in a hospital, Aunt Bach's test results are in no internal injuries. It's just a minor bone fracture. With a little bit of rest, she's expected to make a full recovery. As for Trinvu, he only has soft tissue damage. His bones are perfectly fine. Hearing this, Trinvu excitedly swings his bandaged arm, shouting battered but not broken, only to cry out from a sharp jolt of pain. As soon as the doctor leaves the room, Mok-Thu looks over at Thuong Din. This situation is my fault. Things didn't go smoothly on my end, but Thuong Din just waves it off. Forget about that. What's more important right now is finding out what your ability is. At his words, Mok-Thu quickly conjures a small, flickering flame on the tip of her finger. But this isn't just fire manipulation, it's elemental control. According to the books, elemental abilities are classified as single, multi, or all element. A single element user, obviously, can only control the power of one specific element. Multi-element users can wield 2 or 3 types. And the books even mention a legendary ability user who possessed every single element. And although this user died young, their combat power was said to rival that of the 12 strongest people alive. And right now, Mok-Thu herself is starting to realize the immense power that she holds in her hands. She can use the wood element for healing, the earth element for defense, and even the metal element to strengthen weapons. Hearing all this, Trinvu's eyes sparkle as he tries to sweet-talk Mok Thursday. Hey, do you think we could swap powers? But that's impossible, and he's just embarrassing himself. Mok-Thu turns to Thuong Din, her face filled with confidence. So, what are your plans now? Because I have some seriously juicy inside information. Seeing her so sure of herself, Thuong Din simply nods. All right, let's hear it. How juicy is this information you've got? Not keeping them waiting, she leans in with a secretive air. According to what Mok-Thu has managed to dig up, the government has started forming a special, professional task force specifically to deal with the Abyss species. The first round of recruitment for ability users is already underway, and Mok-Thu is planning to join. She hopes that both Thuong Din and Trinvu will join her to fight the Abyss species and protect the planet. But upon hearing her proposal, Thuong Din doesn't hesitate for a second. He flatly refuses, saying he's not interested in getting involved with the government, but he was still a little anxious. Had it already started? The government was moving way faster than he expected. Seeing the young man turn down such a golden opportunity, Mu-Che truly didn't get it. Joining them wasn't a bad thing. He might be strong, but wave after wave of Abyssals were coming. Raw power alone wouldn't be enough to keep him safe. Then there was the whole logistics problem. If he joined a government squad, he wouldn't just be getting support from teammates. He'd also have access to a massive supply system. But that would mean giving up his freedom of action, wouldn't it? Mu-Che didn't need to say more, because Shang Ting's mind was made up. He wouldn't join the government, but she could rest easy. Even without joining, he would still fight the Abyssals alongside everyone else, protecting his own nation. Hearing this, Mu-Che knew she couldn't persuade him and could only sigh. Fine then, so be it. It was a real shame though. She told Shang Ting if he ever changed his mind, he could contact her anytime, and if he needed any help, he just had to ask. An offer that Shang Ting had absolutely no intention of refusing, because, as it happened, he did have a little favor to ask of Mu-Che. He needed a loan. Seeing him hesitate like that, Mu-Che couldn't help but feel pleased. How much? Money was one thing she definitely had plenty of. That was all Shang Ting needed to hear. His shy act vanished as he blurted out. Is 100 million enough? Hearing that number, Chung Yu, who was standing right there, looked completely floored, his eyes wide with disbelief. The smile on Mu-Che's face didn't disappear, but it definitely froze in place. Hold on, what did he just say? Faced with that look, Shang Ting suddenly got all awkward again, quickly looking away while scratching his cheek. Is that too much? 50 million is fine too. She immediately stepped closer to Shang Ting, her face full of suspicion, making him feel even more guilty. Shang Ting, she had a strange feeling he was plotting something. But maybe, just maybe, she was overthinking it. Shang Ting had been a good guy his whole life. How could he possibly be scheming? No way, absolutely not. Still a bit suspicious, but whatever, she'd trust him. 100 million was no problem. She just needed his account number, and she'd handle it. Didn't she agree a little too fast? Cheng Yu couldn't believe his ears. Was this actually happening? The second Mu Chiu agreed. Shang Ting grabbed Cheng Yu's collar and started dragging him off. As expected from Miss Mu, so generous. They'd be taking their leave now, and they'd meet again if fate allowed. But wait, why leave so soon? His wounds weren't even healed. Mu Chi shouldn't worry. Shang Ting was supremely confident a tiny wound like this was nothing. It wasn't like he could die from it. This made Cheng Yu's blood boil. Shouldn't you at least ask for my opinion? He yelled. No justice, no human rights. At that moment, watching the two of them disappear, Mu Chi was immediately lost in deep thought. What in the world did Shang Ting need such a massive amount of money for? Could he be trying to build his own force? Outside, Cheng Yu was a little confused. Didn't Shang Ting say the entire monetary system would collapse soon? So what was the point of taking so much cash? That was a problem for the future. Right now, money still had value. They needed to form their own team, and how were they supposed to do that without any funds? If what he said was true, Cheng Yu could already picture it. Shang Ting would be the captain, and he'd be the vice captain. So what was their next move? Obviously, they had to buy a base. Didn't Cheng Yu's uncle work in real estate? Well, this job was all his. Shang Ting had two very specific requests. 1. It had to be hidden somewhere remote, preferably in the mountains, and it needed a complete overhaul. 2. It had to be kept absolutely secret, even if that meant threatening Cheng Yu's uncle. Yeah, Shang Ting was really sounding like a supervillain right now, but Cheng Yu could handle it. It would just take some time. So what were they supposed to do in the meantime? According to Shang Ting's calculations, there was still some time before the abyss appeared again, which, of course, meant more special training. At those words, Cheng Yu seemed to ponder something for a moment before snapping back to his usual clueless self. More training? Oh, come on. The scene cuts to a training facility where both Cheng Yu and Shang Ting are sprawled on the floor, while a news broadcast echoes around them. To cope with the upcoming battle against the Abyssals, the entire globe has coordinated to form a new special species department. They will face the Abyssals together to protect the Earth. Just yesterday, their nation completed the formation of its own special species unit. They've now established bases in 6 cities: A, C, D, E, and F. On the floor, Shang Ting and Cheng Yu can barely even breathe. As for their base, Cheng Yu reported that it would still take another half a month to complete all of Shang Ting's architectural modifications. Cheng Yu was just wondering when the abyss would make its next appearance. He was getting really antsy. At that question, Shang Ting immediately sat bolt upright. They only had 3 days left. It was time for them to get ready to move out. And just like that, a woman stepped inside, a thick, dark aura practically rolling off of her. So, she'd finally found them. Seeing the two boys on guard, Tianye's eyes lit up as she gritted her teeth. Did they have any idea her captain had chewed her out for 7 days and nights because of them? Before she could even say a word, Rose stopped short, recognizing the young man in front of her. Wasn't that Xiao Ti from the hotel? Little brother, so you got powers too, huh? Hearing this, Cheng Yu was completely lost. Shang Ting, when did you meet an absolute bombshell like her? He, on the other hand, knew exactly who this was. It was definitely Tianye, but why on earth was she here looking for the two of them? No more talk. Tianye walked right up and sat down in front of them. Got any water? She was dying of thirst. Hearing this, Cheng Yu ignored how out of breath he was from training and immediately ran to get a bottle of water. He carefully handed it to her, but a single brush of their hands was enough to make his whole face turn beet red. But she wasn't done. Tianye's voice was smooth as she continued, telling him he was actually pretty cute. Did he have a girlfriend? She casually tugged her collar open, revealing her scorching figure. So, what did he think of her? Looks like even a hero can't resist a beauty. Cheng Yu was blushing so hard he was practically frozen to the spot. Only Shang Ting kept his cool, looking directly at Tianye. Why are you here? After a gulp of water, Tianye smirked. All right, she'd get straight to the point. She reintroduced herself. Her real name is Tianye. Most people call her Rose. She was from the 12-star troop, a full-fledged mercenary. That giant ape they fought earlier? Yeah, he was a member of her squad. That revelation hit Cheng Yu like a ton of bricks. He instantly snapped his gun up, aiming it right at her. Was this woman here for revenge after all? Seeing how guarded he was, Tianye stepped closer and gently took his hand, telling him not to be so tense around her. She promised she meant no harm, she just wanted to know if they were interested in joining the 12-star troop. And Shang Ting shouldn't even think about saying no. Tianye's captain ordered her to deal with them if they refused. So, she hoped they would think it over carefully. Hearing this, Cheng Yu just crossed his arms and tilted his head. It was just one of her against the two of them. Hadn't she ever heard that 2-on-1 is an unfair fight? There was no way they were getting taken out. But the moment he said that, Cheng Yu's knees suddenly buckled. His head was spinning as a strange energy pulsed from his body. "You old hag," he choked out. "Are you playing dirty?" Even Shang Ting was shocked, his body trembling not from fear, but because something was invading both of them. Seeing the absolutely priceless expressions on their faces, Tianye broke into a brilliant smile. One second she's a bombshell, the next she's an old hag. Men, she mused, especially young ones, are so quick to change their tune. But that smile vanished in a flash, replaced by an incredibly dangerous glint in her eyes. With a knowing smirk, she made it clear she'd said everything she needed to. Now, it was time for them to give her a proper answer. At that moment, both Shang Ting and Cheng Yu were struggling under an invisible pressure that made it incredibly hard to breathe. What in the world was this power? Before anyone could speak, a sudden shout from behind made Tianye jump. "You wicked old hag!" a voice roared from the shadows. "We finally found you." From the darkness, 4 men stepped out, blonde, black-haired, even a bald one, all of them heading straight for Tianye. One of them was even carrying a wooden bat for extra intimidation. Seeing these guys, Tianye's expression immediately soured. She even muttered it under her breath, "I'm screwed." What was her connection to this group? The appearance of these thugs made Shang Ting's face twist with annoyance. "Who are you people?" Tianye answered. "They're the Poison Strike Squad. Rivals of my team." Damn it all. She'd been so careful on the way here. How could they have possibly tracked her? The bald man gritted his teeth, calling her a venomous witch. "I finally got you," he snarled. He swore he'd break all 4 of her limbs, throw her to the wolves, and watch them tear her apart, piece by piece. You have to wonder, what did Tianye do to make this guy so insane with rage? This was not a normal grudge. Without missing a beat, Tianye bluntly explained that she was the one who castrated him. Hearing this, Shang Ting jumped back, his face completely pale. What? Was she being serious right now? Staring at the woman who made him a eunuch, veins bulged on the man's forehead. He sneered that it figured she'd be servicing 2 guys at once. Calling her a tramp was an understatement. He spat. She was nothing but a low-life bitch. He clearly wasn't holding back. Tianye immediately screams at the bald old man. "One more word," she threatens, "and he's headed for the afterlife." "Oh, so he has a death wish?" But the bald man smirks. He thinks she's the one who's going to die today. Why? Because he already knows all about her abilities. In fact, he claims he came thoroughly prepared. Prepared, huh? Suddenly, a fireball materializes right in Tianye's hand. Her eyes burn with a crazed light as she dares them to test just how prepared they really are. Facing down this gang, Tianye has already cleansed the poison from both Shang Ting and Cheng Yu. She tells them to run while she holds these guys off, saying this fight is not their problem. The words barely leave her mouth before she hurls a dark green liquid straight at the enemy. To counter her attack, the second-in-command grips his wooden staff, his hand beginning to glow with a strange energy. With a flash, the poison from Tianye is completely neutralized by this power, leaving her absolutely stunned. As the bald man explains, this guy's ability is called Purification, the perfect counter to all of Tianye's poisons. This time, she's really in trouble. Right after, the blonde goon next to him unleashes a massive whirlwind that slams directly into her, hitting with brutal force. The impact makes her cough up blood, and with no time to react, the 4 men immediately rush in for the kill, but they're stopped dead in their tracks by the sound of a gunshot. It's Cheng Yu, gun in hand, with a deadly serious warning. He tells the thugs not to even twitch, or the next bullet is going straight through one of their heads. As for Shang Ting, with those rippling muscles of his, he steps right in front of Tianye to protect her. Today, he says, she owes them big time. Facing these 2 absolute beasts, the second-in-command gets nervous and asks his bald boss if maybe they should just retreat. He's pretty sure these 2 kids are ability users, which means their own chances of winning are basically 0. Left with no choice, the old man senses the massive gap in power and immediately orders his men to fall back. But just at that moment, Tian Yi screams out, refusing to let them escape. "Kill them now." At her command, The most muscular guy in the enemy group claps, his hands together, and in a flash, the entire squad just flies away. Tianye jumps to her feet, absolutely furious. "You two, idiots," she yells. "Why did you let them get away?" But when Shang Ting questions her back, Tianye takes a breath, finally calming down. She admits it's her fault. After today, the boys have made a serious enemy out of that group. And those guys are the type who hold a grudge forever. It seems the only way for them to survive now is to join her 12 Stars organization. Hearing this, Shang Ting remains completely unfazed. In fact, he says he has a much better offer. Does she want to hear it? Half skeptical, half curious, Tianye asks. "You don't want me to join your team instead, do you?" His answer? That's exactly right. Shang Ting formally invites Tianye to join their squad. Hearing the proposal, Tianye can't help but find Shang Ting a little bit interesting, but she warns him she doesn't just join anyone so casually. It's then that Shang Ting notices Tianye is still, completely unharmed, leaving him confused. "Wait," he asks. "Aren't you injured at all?" Of course not. Her abilities aren't just limited to using poison. But isn't this basically just trickery? She just smirks, saying beautiful women are natural-born deceivers, it's just their nature. She agrees to owe them a favor this time. As they watch Tianye's silhouette disappear, both Shang Ting and Cheng Yu let out a long sigh. People are seriously treacherous. They realize they're screwed, targeted by the 12 Stars organization, and now enemies with another powerful faction. Talk about bad luck. But for now, both he and Cheng Yu know they have to leave immediately. This place has been exposed. Staying here is useless anyway. There are only 5 days until the next abyss appears. The fourth abyss will show up in City F. It looks like they'll head there first, treating it as a brief rest before the big battle. While walking through the city, Cheng Yu spots a massive building with a sign for registering combat squads for fighting abyss monsters. He wonders aloud if they should go check it out. Shang Ting hesitates for a second, but, seeing Cheng Yu's excitement, he agrees. It's a good chance to see if any powerful experts like the ones from the book are around. If so, he might even be able to recruit them. As soon as they walk inside the building, a man steps forward to greet them. "Are you two here to register?" Hearing this, Shang Ting lets out a small smile. He asks if registration is only for people with abilities. The man says, "Of course not. You don't need special powers to join the fight. As long as you have a certain skill, you can take the assessment." By the way, the man introduces himself as Ji Yuan, the person in charge of this entire 6th district. The moment he hears that name, Shang Ting flinches, and his reaction is immediately noticed by Ji Yuan. "You seem surprised," he remarks. Realizing his mistake, Shang Ting immediately tries to play it cool, forcing a laugh. He claims he was just surprised because the name sounds similar to an old friend's, but only he knows the truth. In the book, almost all of the top-tier experts shared one common characteristic. They all possessed unbelievably strong abilities. But there were a rare few with no powers at all who could still shake the world. The most feared man of all was named Qi Jiyuan, but the history books barely described him at all. The only available information came from his file, which stated that Qi Jiyuan originally belonged to the government. But after the Abyssals destroyed his city, he became disillusioned and decided to build his own mercenary corps. In the beginning, nobody knew what his true ability was. They only knew he was a man capable of miracles. He led his squad to victory against stronger foes many times, once even defeating 3 level 61 Abyssals at once. To put that in perspective, at the time, not even the 12 strongest ability users could single-handedly defeat an Abyssal over level 50. And not only that, Qi Jiyuan once clashed with the strongest of those 12 users, ending the fight with his own overwhelming victory. From that day forward, everyone believed Qi Jiyuan's power was a cut above the rest. He was even called the uncrowned king. But later in the story, Qi Jiyuan was ambushed by hundreds of smaller squads. In the end, his entire mercenary corps was completely wiped out. Having a guy like him on Shang Ting's team would be a huge advantage. So, Shang Ting made his move, telling the man that even though he and his friend had no powers, they wanted to help protect their home. Hearing this, Qi Jiyuan simply pushed up his glasses and said, "Of course you can. How about this? Both of you please follow me to my office, and I'll explain the details to you there." At that very moment on the streets outside, 3 men discussed the situation. The security in this area was incredibly tight, both inside and out. Besides the large number of armed staff, there were plenty of others hiding in the shadows. Their security was definitely strong, but one of the men had already used his ability to scan the area. The ability user inside was no match for them. Hearing this, the blonde man immediately contacted Joss to ask for his opinion on whether they should lock on. Far across the city, the man named Jor smiled widely, weapon in hand. The boss is locked on. We can launch a sneak attack at any time. Hearing this, the blonde man revealed a wicked grin. 5-minute countdown. The mission execution window is 15 minutes. Meanwhile, inside the office, Chi Ji-yuan was pouring tea for the two boys. He offered them a cup, but Shang Ting and Chung Yu declined. They didn't like tea. It seemed these two young men were extremely cautious. Chi Ji-yuan acknowledged this and decided they should stop beating around the bush. What is your real purpose for coming here? The direct question caught Cheng Yu and Shang Ting a little off guard. Before they could say a word, Chi Ji-yuan continued. You two are ability users, aren't you? And you're not here to sign up. You don't have to say it. You already know who I am. Hearing this dangerous analysis, Shang Ting remained perfectly calm. You seem a little on edge. You just happen to share the same name as a friend of mine. But lying was useless. Chi Ji-yuan has had a special ability since he was a child. Or rather, an intuition. He could perceive things through a person's expressions, emotions, movements, posture, and even their scent. He could sense that Shang Ting not only knew him, but knew him very well. The strange part? He didn't know this kid at all. Therefore, Chi Ji-yuan had to know who he was, and what his purpose was. Man, so this was the real Chi Ji-yuan. The pressure was intense. Shang Ting knew that at such a crucial time, a little caution wasn't a bad thing. But please believe me, we're really just ordinary people. Chi Ji-yuan knew that questioning them wouldn't get him the answers he needed. Since that was the case, his only option was to hand them over to the department that specialized in interrogations. In an instant, a barrier formed around the two of them. It was a device designed specifically to deal with ability users. Even an ability user who could defeat a level 3 Abyssal wouldn't be able to break this. The words had barely left his mouth when Shang Ting shattered the barrier with a single punch, leaving Chi Ji-yuan completely stunned. This thing is pretty tough, but it's still a little lacking. With that, Shang Ting dropped the act he was, in fact, an ability user. But he pleaded for Chi Ji-yuan to believe him, insisting that he held no ill will. At first glance, the teen's ability seemed to be body enhancement, but to break a level 3 cage, his ability had to be level 4 or 5. At this point, Chi Ji-yuan could only choose to trust them. After all, if they truly wanted to harm him, he possessed no ability whatsoever to fight back. At this, Shang Ting just scratched his head and smiled. Do I really look that much like a bad guy? The moment he finished speaking, a massive explosion erupted from behind, instantly putting Cheng Yu and Shang Ting on the defensive. With a cold snort, Chi Ji-yuan ripped his own pant leg, then launched a powerful kick directly toward the flames. Seeing the two boys' silhouettes through the smoke, he could guess their power was more than just simple body enhancement. Was it a power that could resist elemental attacks? Their bodies were still burned, so it seems it wasn't complete immunity to elemental damage. Alarms blared. One sector was taking heavy fire. All units, brace for impact, Thuongdin spoke up. Go. This has nothing to do with any of you. He would help them escape, but he needed the other man's approval. Hearing this, Chi Ji-yuan immediately led the charge, running outside. The enemy had heavy artillery, so he told them to get to the first floor. And just like that, the buildings went into lockdown. Heavy weapons were immediately rolled out. Elsewhere, a man named Geos let out a long, bored yawn. So, they managed to react that quickly. It seemed he'd underestimated his opponents, but it was a pointless effort. Target locked. Destroy. The building ahead instantly exploded into pieces. He then reported to his boss that suppression was complete. Inside what was left of the building, everyone was in total shock. Who would dare attack the main headquarters? Just then, the attackers appeared before them. Their leader gave his men 1 minute to wipe everyone out. In a flash, the two sides clashed. From the headquarters side, all three of them charged forward to crush their enemies. Facing the headquarters ability users, the mercenary just gave a slight smirk. He vanished instantly, slipping past them and striding forward. 10 seconds right within the boss's limit. The headquarters team kept firing, but a man with blonde hair blocked every single bullet. This guy was an absolute monster. The blonde spun around like a ballet dancer, somehow redirecting all the metal slugs. He fired them right back at their owners, tearing into the headquarters forces until his little performance ended. By then, his opponents were already wounded. A satisfied smirk curled on his lips as he ordered his men to split up. 14 minutes remained. They had to find those important documents. But before he moved, the blonde man froze solid. A single bullet was hovering right in front of his face. Then, from another doorway, 3 guys strolled in like a ridiculously cool mafia crew. The blonde man's team immediately sensed something was wrong. Their intel was bad. There was a new power user. It seemed the opponent had abilities similar to his own. Geos wanted nothing more than to play with them. The second the blonde man agreed, Geos gripped his weapon. Burst mode, sniper round, loaded. Facing the blonde, Chi Ji-yuan demanded, "Who in the world are you?" The man just smiled. "You must be the person in charge here, right?" In that case, the blonde decided to introduce himself. His name was John Wiss, from the Rose Dance mercenary group. Rose Dance? In the novel, Thuong Din had never read anything about an organization with that name. It seemed they weren't a very famous mercenary group. And as a professional, John Wiss couldn't reveal who hired them. If they wanted to know, they could go ask the devil in hell. The second he finished speaking, a bullet shot from behind them. But at that moment, Zhen Yu sensed it. He spun around, blocking the vicious attack with his own gun. His gun and Geos's bullet met head-on, neither side giving a single inch to the other. Faced with this counterattack, Geos only grew more excited. This guy's ability was a perfect match for his own. He pulled out another bullet, this one shaped like a skull, wanting to see if Zhen Yu could stop it. Once again, the death bullet was fired. Zhen Yu on the other side immediately knew this one was different. But this was his fifth shot too. The two sides engaged in a gunfight so intense it kicked up dust everywhere. Watching the attack unfold, John Wiss couldn't help but laugh. It seemed his man Geos had finally met his match. Pinned down, Zhen Yu yelled for Thuong Din. The enemy sniper was too strong. What were they supposed to do? Instantly, Thuong Din planted his feet firmly into the ground. These were high-level, professional mercenaries. They were in an unknown location, pinned down by a powerful sniper, and their own fighting strength was critically low. In a situation like this, their chances of winning were almost zero. If that was the case, then they had to run. As the words left his mouth, all three of them charged forward, kicking down the wall in front of them. At the same time, Geos successfully locked on his target, but the blonde man told him to stand down. The mission had to come first. What a shame. It wasn't often he met someone with his exact abilities. Once the three of them had found cover and were safe, Thuong Din finally spoke up. He apologized to Chi Ji-yuan. In that kind of situation, it was the only choice he could make, and it was the right one. But Thuong Din had severely underestimated the nation's special forces. Chi Ji-yuan calmly pulled a phone from his pocket. He sent a message. "Special Ability User Squad, move out." Then he casually lit a cigarette. Chi Ji-yuan looked completely calm. "All right, let's all go back now." And just like that, the mercenaries were being suppressed by the anti-power unit. Now that's what you call an entrance. The mercenaries were panicked. Why did their powers suddenly stop working? But before John Wick could even finish, a foot came down, slamming his head into the ground. "Monster?" he scoffs. "You're the real monsters here." Just then, another soldier ran up, reporting they couldn't get a lock on the target. The enemy sniper was just too crafty. With a heavy sigh, the captain seemed completely unbothered. He's just a terrified rat. If he wants to run, let him run. Meanwhile, led by Chi Ji-yuan, the three of them stepped inside the facility. And, as expected, Chi Ji-yuan began the introductions. "This guy is Black Panther, captain of the Special Ability User Unit in the 6th District." Hearing this, Shang Ting immediately realized who he was. Black Panther, the strongest fighter in Chi Ji-yuan's mercenary group, the legendary man who fought alongside Chi Ji-yuan until the very end. Looking at the two teens, Black Panther cracked a smile. "Want to smoke, kids?" But he quickly pulled the cigarette from his mouth. "Hey you know who I am, don't you?" Shang Ting kept his cool in the face of the question. "Nope, this is our first time meeting. Are all of Chi Ji-yuan's people absolute monsters?" It seemed he'd have to work on his poker face. Flicking his half-smoked cigarette to the ground, Black Panther turned to leave. He still had business to handle, so they could keep talking. Oh, and old Chi, he really liked these two kids. Make sure to assign them to Black Panther's unit. Hearing this, Chung Yu and Shang Ting glanced at each other. They would help the country if needed, but they much preferred a life of freedom. At their response, Chi Ji-yuan just sighed. If they ever changed their minds, they could find him any time. The gates to the 6th District would always be open for them. Just as he was about to leave, Chi Ji-yuan suddenly called out. "The next Abyss Tower appears in 4 days, right?" "That's not right." Shang Ting started to speak, but stopped short, whipping his head around. Instantly, their eyes met the man's mysterious gaze. With that, Chi Ji-yuan turned and walked away. 5 days from now, hope I can still see you two then." Walking down the street, Shang Ting couldn't help but marvel at the man. He really was a monster. But Chung Yu felt something different. Could he be the same as Shang Ting? That's right. There was no proof that he was the only special existence in this world. What if he wasn't the only one who could see the future? But now wasn't the time to dwell on that. They needed to get to the next abyss. Exactly. If Shang Ting wasn't unique, then all he could do was get stronger. Strong enough to face anything and everything. At that moment, the entire city was on complete lockdown. Looking at the current situation, Shang Ting felt a massive headache coming on. This pretty much killed all their hopes. Suddenly, a woman's voice called from outside. "My sweet little brothers, open the door. It's your big sis." That voice, 100%. It was her. Seeing no reaction, Tianye had no choice but to phase through the door with her team. The moment he saw them, the long-haired guy greeted them with a smirk. The tension between the two groups was thick. Tianye immediately shoved him aside, making a path to her little bros. "Don't worry, boys. I'm only here today to discuss a little business deal with you." At this point, the squad leader spoke up. "You two must already know Tianye and this big-headed gorilla," and he was Mi Huan, captain of the 12 Stars Guild. Hearing that name, Cheng Yu couldn't help but burst out laughing. Mi Huan looked a little embarrassed. The name really was just that ridiculous. But Shang Ting's reaction was the complete opposite. Mi Huan? That name never once appeared in the novel. He wasn't some major character who could stir up trouble. After a slight cough, Mi Huan finally got to the point. "Hey, a new abyss is appearing today at midnight, but its location is under extremely tight control, so Mi Huan wanted to hire the two of them to seize the abyss core." Shang Ting heard him out and then flatly refused, not even bothering to hear their conditions. "You guys know the abyss is completely locked down. In terms of numbers or firepower, the 5 of us don't stand a chance. Besides, even if they succeeded, what would they face next? The entire 6th district, maybe even getting hunted down. Not just the 6th district, they'd be enemies of the entire country." For such a massive price, Shang Ting couldn't imagine what Mi Huan could possibly offer him. In response, Mi Huan held out a small bag containing 2 abyss stones. "Is this enough for you?" The one on the left is a body enhancement type, incompatible with their own abilities, so he can't absorb it. As for the second one, its previous owner was someone they had already met, that sniper. Taking him out was a bit of a hassle, but the end result was definitely satisfying. Both of these stones have a 100% compatibility rate with you two. So, what do you say? Ready to consider our little deal now? At his words, Cheng Yu pulled Shang Ting aside. With it, they'd get stronger. He saw Shang Ting hesitate, but Cheng Yu's eyes lit up opportunity and danger, side by side. Should they? Before they could decide, the man cut them off. "Are you tired of living or something?" In the end, Shang Ting still chose to refuse. Hearing this, Mi Huan pulled an abyss stone from his pouch. If they wouldn't agree, he wouldn't force them. This celestial abyss stone was a gift, a welcome present. Before he could add anything else, big-headed Xing glanced over, only to see Mi Huan glaring. He instantly shut his mouth, as if he'd slapped himself. Watching their figures leave, Shang Ting grew suspicious. Even as they walked outside, big-headed Xing still didn't understand. That was an abyss stone, and they just gave it away? But Mi Huan saw it differently, asking, "What do you think their relationship is? Or rather, what kind of bond? Friends, teammates, or like them a captain and his subordinate?" He left it at that, telling big-headed Jing he'd understand later. Back in the apartment, Cheng Yu was just as confused about their true intentions. What did they want? Gifting such a rare abyss stone? Shang Ting knew it was a ploy, but he also knew they had to accept it, and without hesitation. For Cheng Yu, getting a stone like this was nearly impossible. He had to take this chance. The moment Cheng Yu swallowed the abyss stone, a brilliant light erupted from within his body. As the light faded, Cheng Yu was ecstatic. They'd hit the jackpot. His eagle-eye ability went from a 2,000-meter range to 3,000, and he unlocked a new skill. Any target within 500 meters, no matter where they hid, he could see them perfectly. Nothing could block his sight. Paired with his weapon, Cheng Yu was now basically invincible within his visual range. Had he known, Cheng Yu would have accepted their deal on the spot. If Shang Ting had that stone, he'd be even stronger. But Shang Ting's soul was proud, capable of absorbing all types of abyss stones, a fact he couldn't tell Cheng Yu just yet. As for the 12 star clusters, they wouldn't bother telling Qi Jiyuan. A monster like him didn't need their help. The 5th Abyss event lasted an unusually long time, almost as if to help humanity adapt to their new powers. So when it appears, they both have to be strong enough to claim its prize, or they'll just keep getting weaker. Right now, recruiting Qi Jiyuan seemed completely impossible. What about Tianye? Forget it. Mu Qiu? She seemed like a good choice, but her background was tricky. She was too powerful, too tied to the nation, it just wasn't realistic. Who else was there from the novel he remembered? Then it hit him. How could Shang Ting forget this person? The book only mentioned him a single time. His presence was incredibly faint, to the point he didn't even have a name, but his power was absurdly strong, so strong that his successor later became one of the 12 star clusters. That successor mentioned being from Sector 6, which was another name for F-City. And Shang Ting had visited a place there before, a children's relief center called Hope. If he could find this person, he would be a massive asset. With that single thought, Shang Ting immediately led Cheng Yu straight to the Hope Center. A very young man greeted them, and Shang Ting shook his hand. He claimed he wanted to invest in the place and was here to look around. Hearing this, the man's face lit up. He introduced himself as Zhu Fei, the director of the welfare organization. But before he could lead them inside, a group of thugs stormed in, shouting and causing a scene, which clearly flustered Zhu Fei. He stepped before their leader, Boss Zhang. Zhu Fei pleaded for a little more time, promising the organization would secure an investment. But before he could finish, the man called Zhang swung his hand, landing a sharp, painful slap across Zhu Fei's face. He wasn't falling for that line again. Pay up today, principal and interest, or don't expect to live. Despite his hatred for the man, Zhu Fei continued to beg. But Boss Zhang didn't care. He just pointed forward, ordering his men to drag all the disabled children outside. Hearing this, Shang Ting motioned for Cheng Yu to stay put. They needed to see how this played out first. As the thugs moved in, Zhu Fei screamed in protest, insisting he wouldn't let them. He swore he'd pay the money. But this Zhang character was long past believing him. Besides, he'd always found these crippled kids to be an eyesore. Those words pushed Zhu Fei right over the edge. A crimson flash appeared in his eyes, and a demonic figure materialized behind him. It instantly lunged forward, choking the life out of Boss Zhang, killing him on the spot. Seeing their boss go down, the thugs panicked and grabbed his body to rush him for help. What was this situation? Of course, Shang Ting understood it all. Sitting back in the room, Shang Ting got straight to the point. How long have you had that ability, Zhu Fei? No need to hide it. This world has changed, Shang Ting said. I'm sure you know that better than anyone. It's a playground for Abyssals now. The old laws will soon be meaningless. Zhu Fei has a powerful ability, and he probably thinks that with this strength, he can protect his orphanage and shield these children. But Shang Ting could guarantee him one thing he absolutely couldn't. Zhu Fei instinctively stood up, confronting Shang Ting. What did he really want? What was his true purpose for coming here? So, Shang Ting introduced himself again. He was Shang Ting, his partner was Ji Yu, and his goal was to recruit Zhu Fei. He wanted Zhu Fei to join them, to become a member of their team, which he clarified was not a government agency. Zhu Fei could think of them as a small mercenary group. Joining Shang Ting would mean facing danger on a regular basis. It might even involve those kids from before. However, the trade-off was immense protection and a wealth of resources. Shang Ting posed a question. Had Zhu Fei ever thought about what would happen when law completely collapsed, when the gifted become the new disaster? And that's where we'll end this video. The content you just saw covers the first part of the story's summary. If you have any thoughts, be sure to leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and ring that bell for more amazing videos. For now, goodbye and see you in the next one.